Sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want you to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't wanna tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Losing almost all my energy. It's getting hard to talk to you, and I'm the only one who speaks. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't wanna tell me now, I can't.
In the heart of Alberta, Canada, a story of tragedy and mystery unfolds. The Amber Tuccuro cold case. Amber Tuccuro, a vibrant young woman, disappeared without a trace in August of 2010. Her disappearance shook the community and left her loved ones in anguish and despair. As the years had passed and hope waned, but the search for answers continued. The case remained cold, gathering dust in the depths of the files. But her story isn't just one of loss. It is a story of resilience, determination, and the unbreakable bond between a family seeking answers and a community demanding justice. This is Sunny and Charmaine, and let's get into Canadian true crime cases. August 18th, the day that Amber Tuccuro disappeared, would be a horrific day for her family to realize that Amber was nowhere to be found. The RCMP released this audio only 4 days before Amber was found. In this audio, you are going to hear Amber, and this is the last time that anyone will know of Amber's voice on August 18th. And this conversation is with that of Amber and the person that took Amber's life, the person that they are still searching for to this day. Please take a listen.
Where are we by?
We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont.
We're heading north to Beaumont. Yo, where are we going?
Just
No, this is a... Are you f***ing kidding me? You better not take me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. Jeez. Yo, we're not going into the city, are we?
We're going.
No, we're not.
Yes.
Then where the f*** are these roads going to?
50th Street.
50th Street. Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yo, where are we going?
50th Street.
50th Street?
50th Street.
East, right?
East.
Over town.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Okay, sorry about that. I was behind the scenes maneuvering, looking at the time left on that. So thank you guys for joining the live tonight. Charmaine and myself, we're going to be doing the true crime Canadian case. And today's case, we're going to be talking about, oh, well, I'll let Charmaine tell you what case we're going to be talking about today, since she's the one that brought this to our attention.
Okay, so you want me just to get into it?
Well, you know what? Before we do anything, actually, let's just do a bow for Remembrance Day, Veterans Day. So to remember all the lives that were lost. So just take a moment, if you will, for that before we get started. Okay, so thank you guys very much. And of course, Remembrance Day. It's a day for me that my grandma was born on. She has since passed, and my son's best friend as well. His birthday normally would have been today, but he passed last year on Thanksgiving. So, as well as the fallen lives, of course. So that's who I want to pay all my respects to for Remembrance Day. And yes, Charmaine, whenever you're ready to get into it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry for your loss, Sunny. I didn't know that.
And it's my grand for me, it's all good. For my son, different story. It was his best friend.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for being here to hear about this case. This happened in 2010, and once we get into it, I think you'll start to understand how the RCMP have not even still taken this case as seriously as they probably should. I did a little bit of a deep dive that led me to Amber's case on my podcast because there's a series of missing and murdered. What did you call them, Sunny? What am I supposed to call them here? Ladies of the night?
Oh, either that or escorts, one of the two.
Escorts. Okay, so between Calgary and Edmonton, and we'll pull up a Google Earth map and just to show you kind of the distance and where all of this is going on right now. But Amber's case isn't thought to be connected to these, but it is very, very suspicious in any regard, no matter how you look at it. So I was brought into this realm of it because of those connections. But the more I looked, the more I felt like this is solvable. We have the guy's voice. There's a lot of information there to go off of, and I don't understand why the media people aren't covering it more. So I'm really appreciative that Sunny is giving this a platform, and for all of you guys that are here, if you can, share it and spread the word, because there is a small, maybe possible connection to the United States too. So we'll just get into it if that's okay. Can you hear me okay, Sunny? You're muted.
Sorry, I muted myself because I was bringing in files. But yes, Miranda.
Yes. Okay, so basically, Amber Alyssa Tuccaro is from Michoud Cree First Nation. She is 21 years old, and she was living in Fort McMurray, Alberta. She was actually adopted by Vivian and her ex-husband, I believe his name is Andrew, when she was only 3 months old. Vivian had 4 sons, so Amber, they really wanted a girl in the family, so they were over the moon to get Amber into the family at 3 months old. Like I said, she was adored. They all absolutely adored Amber for her entire life. She was absolutely coddled, and then when she was 19 years old, she had a baby boy whose name is Jacob. And Jacob also was coddled, and Amber was a really, really great mother. She was a loving mother by all accounts. So on August 17th, I guess we should probably talk about Unity House. So after Amber had Jacob, she would kind of go to this Unity House. It's called in Fort McMurray, Alberta, and it's kind of a shelter for domestic violence survivors and high risk people. So I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. Escorts? Is that what we call them? Or escorts, drug addicts, homeless women, just to try to help them get on their feet. And it's an emergency shelter, and they're only allowed to stay for 21 days at a time. So I don't know if we should read too much into why Amber used this Unity House 3 times in the past, but each time she would call her mom Tootsie, which is what everybody calls Vivian, her mother, Tootsie. So every time she would call Tootsie to come pick her up, and then Amber and Jacob would go and live with Tootsie. And then she'd end up going back to Unity House. And this happened 3 times. Well, on her last visit or stay at the Unity House, she met a girl named Evangeline McLean. They became fast friends, and one day on August 17th in the morning, Evangeline reached out to Amber and asked her if she'd like to accompany her to Edmonton for the weekend, just to go and do some shopping or whatever, go to the West Edmonton Mall, which was a huge deal. And Amber wanted to go. Evangeline offered to pay for the plane tickets. We come to find out that those plane tickets were purchased with stolen credit cards. And I can get into that a little bit later too, but there's really nothing to get into there other than Evangeline says that Amber is the one that used the stolen credit cards. Evangeline was never charged with using the stolen credit card. So, and you can see there, so it's a little fishy. Of course, she's going to say Amber did it because Amber's not here to defend herself. But that being the case, they bought the tickets and they flew. I should say, too, that Tootsie did not want Amber to go. She didn't know Evangeline. And then when Amber said, no, Mom, I'm going to go. I'll be fine. Tootsie said, well, why don't you leave Jacob with me for the weekend? Amber, apparently Vivian wasn't feeling well that weekend. So Amber said, no, I'm going to take Jacob with me. He's going to love the mall. It's fine. I'll see you Sunday type thing. So Evangeline bought one-way tickets for her, Amber, and Jacob to go to Edmonton for the weekend. And they flew out that same evening at 6:30 p.m. From Fort McMurray to Edmonton International Airport. So we'll pull up a map in just a few minutes, but when you land in Edmonton, straight across the highway is a little hamlet called Nisku, Alberta. And Nisku is literally just industrial. So it's got construction companies and shops, but the whole main drag of the highway is hotels and truck stops. That's all it is. And in fact, the airport has shuttle buses that take you from the airport to whatever hotel you're staying at. So this is what they did. They went and they checked into the the Nisku.
Yeah.
Pardon me? The Nisku
Place Motel.
Right. They checked into the hotel. They assumed between 7:30 and 8:30, and nobody really knows what they did that night or the following day. We can assume they went to the mall, they had a good time, whatever. But then on the evening of August 18th, Amber decided to go back into the city by herself, leaving Jacob in the hotel room with Evangeline. So that's suspicious. What is a hamlet? Like a little city? It is in Alberta, well, in Canada, a hamlet is something small enough to not even be considered a town.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Like a little settlement, basically.
Yeah. And like I was telling Sunny, I'm in Nisku quite often. And I don't know why it's still called a hamlet, because there are stores there. Because usually when we're talking about hamlets, we're talking about a place that will have like a very small population and maybe one family-owned grocery store type thing, but you have to go somewhere else to get your mail and that kind of stuff. There's no actual services in the town. But Nisku at this point, and even back in 2010, it had all of that. There's hotels everywhere. There's stores. There's McDonald's. There's whatever you need is right there. Granted, it's grown a lot since 2010, but even back then, in my mind, it's not a hamlet. It is bigger than a hamlet. And maybe it's a good idea if we pull up Google Earth right now just to give you guys a good idea of what I'm talking about. Because everything is so close together. So what do? Present, share screen, and Google Earth. All right. Okay. Sorry, I've never done this before, so bear with me.
Yeah,
okay. So here, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Alberta, well, most of Alberta. You can see up towards the top. Can you see my cursor?
Can see your cursor, yeah.
Okay, so Fort Chipewyan is up here, and this comes into the story a little bit later, and this is actually where Amber was born, just so you know. Fort McMurray is down here a little bit, This is where the Unity House is, where Tootsie lives, and where Evangeline and Amber flew out of. They flew down to Edmonton. And let's zoom in here so we get a good idea of what we're talking about here. So,
Hey, there's Whitecourt to the left.
yeah, and Fox Creek is up there too. We'll get there. I'll show everybody. I'll show everybody where we live, where I live. Okay. So Edmonton, big city. It's Alberta's capital city. Nisku is right here. It's not even a 10-minute drive to the city limits of Edmonton. And then Leduc is right here. And we do a lot of talking about Leduc County when we're talking about later on when the remains are found and some of the other women. So keep that in mind too. And then just zooming in a little tiny bit more. Okay, there we go. Here's the Edmonton International Airport here. And then, like I said, all of this is all hotels and truck stops. And all of this here would be like the little bit of residential they have, but most of it is industrial shops and whatnot. And then in that call as well, you hear Beaumont. And Beaumont is right over there. And then 50th Street runs up this way. And it goes south as well. So just so everybody's aware. So we're good with that. And now how do I get back, Sunny? Do I just stop sharing? I guess I don't have to.
Oh, you can leave it up because we'll be
Okay.
using it, I'm sure.
Okay. So
Unless, like, whenever you want to change files, just go ahead.
Okay. So where did we leave off?
You were talking about 50th Street.
Okay.
Leduc.
Okay. So we know. Okay. So they went to the mall. We think they went to the mall on the 18th during the day, and then at night, Amber decided to go back into the city. We're not sure why. Evangeline hasn't been questioned by the police, and I know. Don't ask me why, because we don't know. But she left Jacob with Evangeline. Now, according to Vivian Tootsie, I'm going to call her Tootsie from here on out, okay? But according to Tootsie, Amber stopped responding to text messages around 6:30 p.m. on the 18th. And before that, she had been in constant contact with her mom throughout the day. So, yeah. We don't find out about that phone call for quite a long time. And so once Amber stopped responding to text messages, after a few hours, Tootsie's getting worried. So she texts Evangeline. And Evangeline just tells Tootsie that Amber and Jacob are sleeping in the hotel. So Evangeline just says, okay, so when they wake up, have her contact me right away. So fair enough. That's how that conversation ended. So the following day on the 19th, Tootsie gets a text message from Evangeline, and that text message only says Jacob's grandma, ? So just not even sure that this is who she's talking to. She's just reaching out and she says Jacob's grandma. And right away, Tootsie knows that there's something wrong. So Tootsie calls Evangeline, and the story is now, instead of Amber went to sleep, Amber got up and left the hotel in the middle of the night and left Jacob behind, and Evangeline doesn't know what to do. But I'll tell you what Evangeline did do. Instead of waiting for Tootsie's family, who lived in Edmonton, and you all saw how close Edmonton is to Nisku, instead of waiting for family to come down and pick up Jacob, Evangeline takes little Jacob to Child Protective Services and drops him off and leaves him there. It takes Tootsie over a month to get Jacob out of that system, to get him back home with them. I don't know why Evangeline did this.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
At all. It's not good. So, yeah.
That doesn't make sense. Having family there and then to take the child there, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just really fishy. So okay, so right away Tootsie called the RCMP to report Amber missing. And guess what they told her? Just guess. You have to wait 24 hours.
Right.
Right. So they finally took the missing persons report on August 20th. And by August, I want to say August. Oh, and I should say too that Evangeline posted on Amber's Facebook on August 20th, "Please call me, girl. I'm so worried about you." So that's special.
So worried that she took the son to Child Protective Services, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So okay, and then like I said, on the 20th, they finally took the missing persons report, but nothing was done. They basically said she's probably out partying. She hasn't been to Edmonton. She's an adult. She's free to do what she wants. We have nothing to tell us that anything bad has happened. So go home. We'll let you know if we find anything. And so that's where that ended until August 28th. Yes, August 28th. The RCMP said that they got reports that Amber was seen at a gas station in the city and that there had been activity on her social media. Nobody confirmed this, including the RCMP, but they took her off of the missing persons list on August 28th of 2010.
Right.
Right?
So explain that part again so people truly understand that. She's a missing person.
Nobody's been in contact with her. Nobody knows anything about where she could be. And then somebody calls in and said, "I saw this missing person at whatever gas station." And then somebody else said, "Well, she's been active on social media," which nobody's ever substantiated. And the RCMP didn't look into that side of it either. They just said, "Okay, case closed. She's an adult. She has the right to do what she wants to do." They took her off the missing persons list. Meanwhile, her family is still putting missing persons posters up. So in the meantime, between, I want to say, what was it? September 10th, I want to say, she was put back on the missing persons list because the family made such a stink about it, obviously. But between her coming off the missing persons list and being put back on it, her luggage from the hotel, her family was texted pictures to verify that that was Amber's belongings. And they said, yes, it is. But instead of offering her belongings to the family, the hotel threw everything away. Not that I'm saying there would be any like biological evidence or anything, but maybe a note or a phone number or something might have been there as a clue to who she was trying to go see that night or what her plan was that night. But no, all of her belongings were thrown away with the rest of the garbage before she was put back on the missing person list.
Unbelievable, right?
Beyond unbelievable. So unbelievable. So basically, for the next 2 years, the family is going crazy. They're trying to figure out what the hell happened to their daughter, to their sister. They've got Facebook pages up. They're asking the public for help. And the media is really not doing much about it. They're not covering the case. And I've said it before, in Canada, we don't have the access like you guys do. So even if the RCMP was actively investigating this, we wouldn't know about it. So there could have been stuff going on behind the scenes, but let's face it, probably not, being that there are so many other missing and murdered women that weren't getting media attention either. So what are we to believe? Why would Amber be any different type thing is my point. So then on September, what did we decide the date was?
September 1st.
When that call came out?
Oh, the call was 4 days before.
So Sunny made that awesome video at the very beginning. And we heard the audio clip, the telephone conversation.
We'll play it again.
Play it again. But before we do that, I want to say that Tootsie had told, so in Fort McMurray, and this may sound strange to a lot of people, but in Fort McMurray and Fort Chipewyan and all these smaller places all over the place, especially in Indian reservations or First Nations, hitchhiking is not taboo. Okay. They're aware of the risks, but when they're accepting rides up there, they usually know who they're accepting a ride from. So they're not as, I guess, aware of the dangers. But Tootsie told and would teach Amber, if you're going to hitchhike, phone somebody. Get on the phone, and if you can't get a hold of somebody, pretend that you're talking on the phone to somebody, just so the other person with you thinks that they're not going to get away with anything. So Tootsie always taught Amber, pretend you're talking to somebody if you can't actually make a phone call. So keep that in mind when we're getting into this phone call. Do you want to play it again now, Sunny?
Yeah, sure. Just give me 1 second here. Well, do you want me to play that guy talking from Care? Do you want me to play that?
Yes. Yeah. Because this that Sunny's going to play is how the public found out about this phone call. And then I'll kind of get into, we'll dissect what he says in there and how things actually work in Canada and specifically Alberta.
Okay, so let me do that. Oops, don't I hit the wrong button there?
I'm RCMP Constable Ray Shelton. I'm an investigator with CARE, which is mandated with investigating unsolved homicides and vulnerable missing persons. Right now, we're asking for the public's assistance, your assistance, in solving one such investigation. This is the missing persons case of Amber Tuccuro, a 21-year-old female who went missing in August of 2010. On August 17th, 2010, Amber flew from Fort McMurray to Edmonton with her female friend and Amber's 14-month-old son. After arriving at Edmonton International Airport, the three booked into a motel room here in Nisku and spent the night. In the early evening of August 18th, 2010, Amber left the hotel room to find a ride into the city of Edmonton. We know that between 7:30 and 8 o'clock p.m., Amber got into a vehicle with an unknown male. While in that vehicle, Amber received a phone call, and through investigative means, we have obtained a recording of that phone call. That recording includes the voice of the unknown male driver of the vehicle. To date, that individual is unidentified. We're asking the public's assistance to listen to the tape in hopes that someone recognizes the male voice of the driver and phones investigators with that information. This audio clip may be disturbing to some listeners, but it's important that the public listens to the voice and helps investigators identify the driver of that vehicle. In the following audio recording, you will hear two voices, that of Amber Tuccuro and the unknown male driver of the vehicle.
Where are we by?
We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont.
We're heading north of Beaumont. Yo, where are we going? No, this is a... Are you fucking kidding me? You better not be taking me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. Jeez. Yo, we're not going into the city, are we? No, we're not. Yes. Then what are these roads going to?
50th Street.
50th Street. Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yo, where are we going?
50th Street.
50th Street.
50th Street.
East, right? Over town. South.
We believe that rather than driving into the city of Edmonton, the male drove south and east of Nisku into rural Leduc County. And subsequent to this phone conversation ending, no one has seen or heard from Amber. We believe the male driver of this vehicle has information that may assist police in finding Amber. You will now hear the audio clip a second time. Please listen carefully, and if you believe you recognize the voice of this male driver, please call investigators with that information.
We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont. We're going, yes, to 50th Street. Absolutely. 50th Street. 50th Street. of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont. We're going, yes, to 50th Street. Absolutely. 50th Street. 50th Street.
This recording is available at the CARE website at kare.ca and also at the Alberta Missing Persons website, albertamissingpersons.ca.
So just really quickly, just so everybody knows, Project CARE was an RCMP-led investigation into a series of related murders and disappearances in the Edmonton area. They've since come out and said there is an active serial killer targeting escorts in the city and surrounding area. And I'm just going to go right out there and say it. There's 82 unsolved cases between Edmonton and Calgary since 1982. So just keep that in your back pocket for now.
Just
That's
quickly,
my little rabbit hole.
I was going to say, just quickly, Remy stuff. I don't know that we know he's a trucker or not.
No, and that's one thing. That's one of my theories in this, because people, I mean, obviously everybody's got their own ideas, but being there, I'm aware of the area, and I do know that there are 3 main truck stops there. And I don't know about the States, but in Canada, we have a, I guess, a subset of escorts who work truck stops. Truckers rudely refer to these women as lot lizards. I'm not saying that that's Amber at all, but if somebody approached her or if she was looking for a ride at a truck stop, it could have been a trucker. However, I don't think a big rig would have gone unnoticed driving these back roads, because it is a vast area. It is a huge area, and it's not really densely populated. So there will be a farmhouse over here, and then you might see the lights of the next farmhouse way off in the distance. Like there's not a whole lot of houses right there. So I don't think a big rig truck would be traveling down this road that he was going down unnoticed, basically. So about that phone call, were you going to say something, Sunny?
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, we'll get into the part of the remains there, because the remains have been found. And yeah, we'll get into that part, Miranda.
So you heard this investigator say that Amber received a phone call from her brother, who was in the Edmonton Remand Center, which is our version of a county jail, when she got into the vehicle. And remember what I said about Amber's mom telling her that if you can't have an actual phone call, pretend you're on a phone call. So my problem with this is, if you search on YouTube or wherever for coverage of Amber's case, there's a lot of coverage that say Amber called her brother. No, because inmates obviously can't receive phone calls, and I believe it's the same in the States. It's the same here. But further to that, when an inmate from the Edmonton Remand Center makes a phone call out, they're calling collect. So you have to accept the charges on the other end. And I don't know about American providers, but in Canada, you can't accept collect calls on a cell phone. And I know this for a fact in 2010, because most of you know what I said about my brother. He happened to be in the Edmonton Remand Center just a few years before this happened. And I know that he was not able to make collect phone calls to my cell phone. It had to have been a landline. Maybe now, but we're talking 13 years after the fact. But it's really hard for me to believe that that's the way that phone call happened. I myself, and alleged 100%, believe that Amber called that brother's cell phone and was speaking into his voicemail, pretending to talk to somebody. I could be completely wrong, but hear me out here. Edmonton Remand, they keep record of their recorded phone calls for 90 days. Okay, so either the RCMP had that phone call within 90 days of Amber's disappearance of that night before it got deleted, or her brother was being incarcerated and didn't get that voicemail until after he was released and got his belongings back, heard the voicemail and alerted the family and the police. Now, this video that we just watched was released in 2012, and from what I can see, the police had this phone call recording for 1 year before this, so they got it in 2011. Still way past that 90-day.
And it was 17 minutes, you said.
Yes, the full call is 17 minutes long, and we'll get into it, but Amber's remains were found a 17-minute drive away. So that at the end of that call, I believe that that is a struggle. It sounds to me like Amber was either trying to fight the guy or trying to jump out of the vehicle or something. And I believe that that's probably right around where she died. And because 4 days after this video or this release was made by the RCMP on August 28th, 2012, Amber's remains were found. Or I'm sorry, her skull was found. A 17-minute drive away from the hotel that Amber was staying at. So there's that. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, you know what? There was, sorry.
Pings, I've wondered about that, just as I've wondered about that, but like I keep saying, it's so hard to get the police here to talk about anything, to release anything, to even ask for the public's help. Like, this was unheard of when they released this, and by my calculations, it was way too late, way after the fact, especially if they had this information for a year, which is what all accounts say, that the RCMP had this recording since 2011. I mean, why bother? Because now you think you need help? And it was before they found her remains, and it wasn't because of this release that they found her remains. Apparently, the people that found the skull were just out on a recreational horseback riding adventure with friends, and they came across a skull. Now, about the skull, apparently it took them only a couple of days to identify Amber using her dental records. Now, the family takes issue with that because they could have done DNA testing to make sure it was Amber's remains, but they didn't do that. Instead, just a few years ago, Paul Tuccaro, who is one of the biggest voices for the family, went and applied to have Amber's remains exhumed so that they could do DNA testing just to make sure that it was Amber. And instead of granting that, the RCMP sent a medical examiner to Fort Chipewyan to meet with Paul, taking the dental records of the skull and Amber's x-rays from her dentist up there, just to show Paul that, no, this is in fact Amber. This is what I used to compare it to. And according to Paul, the fillings didn't line up. It was not the same person's. But I mean, what can we say, right? Like, that's his opinion. It's his perception, and he's a very hurt family member. So
Absolutely.
So I guess carrying on. So that phone call is pretty. It's really important, but it's very. And to answer some of you in chat, there were escorts that did come forward and say, I know that voice, and that voice is this guy. And we will talk about suspects in a little bit here, but there were people that recognized his voice, and just nothing has come of it. So we're not quite at the point yet where we're going to talk about what the family did, but it's so clear that the RCMP didn't do their job. 100%, but it's also so clear that there's not enough information for even the family to speculate, right? I mean,
Well, you know what? This is the thing. So first of all, Miranda Lee, if I'm not mistaken, she just Evangeline just flew back home. Um, basically. So why did they get a one-way ticket? Uh,
I think my own personal opinion, and of course I don't know, but I think it's because they were stolen credit cards.
yes, correct.
Right? Stolen credit cards. So why chance them finding out and tracking us through this second plane, waiting for us to get on the plane home type thing? We'll just buy the tickets
One way,
before
right?
we go. Maybe. Or maybe she wasn't planning on going home. All I do know now is she went back to Fort McMurray and packed up and moved back to Nova Scotia, which is on the opposite side of the country. And that's where she is to this day.
Good friend.
So,
Good friend. Great friend, eh? I want
Yeah.
I want all my friends to be like that, you know? When
yeah.
I go missing, I'm gonna take her child over to the, Child Protective Services and head on back home. What a great
Mhm.
friend. What a great friend.
So when this first came out, I had it in my mind, this Amber hitchhiked and she got into this vehicle and it was nighttime, and everybody probably knows when you're out in the country in the rural area but close to a city, you can look and you can see the city lights. So Amber would have known that she wasn't going in the right direction because the city lights would have been right there. But come to find out, this was between 7:30 and 8 p.m. and the sun didn't actually set until 9:53 that night. Remember, this was in August, right? So we have a nice long day. So it was daylight out when this was going on. So I could see, if you're out there, I could see how if you're not familiar with the area, you might get kind of turned around, but you still know your sense of direction. And she knew that she was not going where she wanted to go.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's clear in that phone call.
Audio, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, like I said, I firmly believe there's some people that say, oh, that was just the phone jostling at the end there because they hit a gravel road and she dropped the phone. But I think it's a little more sinister than that. I really do. I feel like that was some kind of a struggle at the end of it. But again, this is all just my opinion. And at the end of the day, does it really matter what was going on there? All we know for sure is her remains were found the exact same distance it would take to drive that phone call lasted. So this
And
is
was
how
it really her skull?
it was only her skull. Now, the police had said that there was other bones found in the area, but they later came out and said that they were animal bones. They were not Amber's. But another really kind of weird thing about this is when they were doing that search, like when the skull was found and they were searching that area, they actually had an air restriction put up. So they didn't want drones or anything flying overhead, which, I mean, I've never heard of that before, but apparently this happened that day. And they only searched the area for the one day. So, I mean, I mean, I'm speechless for a lot of this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Just the due diligence that they didn't do, the negligence of the case. Like I said, not even like obviously typically, right? Well, get back to us in 24 hours, because she's this. But as a parent, when something is not normal. And that must be so frustrating when you know what your child typically does. And they're just like, well, give it the 24 hours. But just the suitcase, just kind of like everything like Delphi, right? Just sloppiness. Almost like I said, eh, another Indigenous,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and
Nobody's going to notice.
Yeah.
So about Evangeline, she, according to Paul, the brother, she is still a person of interest. And I think that's legitimate and it's obvious. But the RCMP have never, ever mentioned that to the media. Allegedly, they told Paul that they were going to give her a lie detector test, but then later they told him they couldn't administer one because it goes against her rights.
Right.
By December of 2010, the RCMP made several attempts to locate and interview her, but when they eventually did, her story changed every time. And this could be the reason for so many discrepancies surrounding all of the events leading up to Amber's disappearance. Like I said, nobody's even clear on what they did that day on the 18th and what Amber's story was, why Evangeline was asked to babysit Jacob, or was she asked to babysit Jacob?
Right.
Were they all sleeping and Amber just got up and decided to leave? Like, I seriously doubt it.
I know, and it's especially hard, when, people that do drugs and crime and stuff, right? That's what, like, it's like looking at Garrett Kurtz and all those people. Like, yeah, it's
Mhm.
hard because their stories change. Um, they're just real honestly not trustworthy, really, because you have a proven track record of, um, like I said, stealing people's credit cards to fly into, the Edmonton International Airport there, and obviously not leading the best life there on her part. But I don't know. It just seems pathetic that it's like little attempt is made to solve this case truly, and the only people that truly that bring attention to it are the people that cover it, you know,
Mhm.
um, and or the family members, coming out and bringing it. It's so sad, I would be so frustrated, um, if this had happened to my child, and this is the way it was treated.
I can't even imagine. And like, I hate to say it, Sunny, because I do support law enforcement. I
Oh
truly do.
no,
I
I know.
wanted to be RCMP, but it I mean, if it was a white girl, I think it would have went a lot differently. Even
Typically
I
does.
I, I hate to say it. It's so unfortunate.
Hmm.
Um, did she set her friend up to go? And just as I have my own theories, and it's all allegedly, but I I wonder if, because Unity House was also a place for survivors of human trafficking to go. We don't know why Evangeline was using the Unity House. Was she a victim of human trafficking? And we know that sometimes victims become the victimizer. I don't want to say this is what it is, but they have to be looking at all possibilities here. So the one-way ticket is suspicious. Giving the child to the child welfare immediately is suspicious. Um, Moving across the country is suspicious. Changing her story is suspicious. And if you look at her Facebook now, she's very happy. She seems to have a son. She's, you know, do you want to show her picture just to, because
Show
there
whose picture?
Evangeline, because there
Oh, I've
is
already
something
showed
there.
it. Yeah, right. I'll show it
It,
again. But let me
yeah.
show you. Let me show you first. Uh, Amber's mom, and this is her son now. Because obviously this is like 13 years later. So
Hmm. He
that's
actually just started grade 9 this year.
yeah. So again, just to give you a little bit of perspective on, that this child, has lost his mother. This mother has lost their daughter. There's
Right,
no
right.
answers, and yeah, so sad. But this is Evangeline.
Yeah. So you can, like I said, I'm a white woman, and I don't like to say it, but if the tables were turned, I think that the RCMP would be looking for who murdered this girl. And
Right.
further to that, if the friend was Aboriginal or Indigenous,
Mm-hmm.
the police might be looking at her a little bit harder. Do you know
Yep.
what I mean? But we've
Hmm.
got this beautiful white, blonde, innocent looking
Hmm.
woman
Who
who's,
fits the profile of some, that would make it to the
you
news.
know, I mean, it's terrible to think of, and like I said, I've got nothing but respect for most RCMP members, but this case was just handled in such a way that it leaves like leaves so many
Yeah.
questions and doubt. And now, like, honestly, the family, the entire Aboriginal and Indigenous community has such little trust in the RCMP, and some people, they give them flack for that, but can you blame them? When you start to learn about the Highway of Tears and the missing and murdered Indigenous women, it's an epidemic. And now we're learning more about residential schools. And can you really blame these people for their mistrust of the government and the people that are supposed to be, protecting them? I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's pathetic. Did the family ever? No, they were not. They were not. That request was denied even after they offered to pay for it. Paul works in the oil and gas industry and makes good money, and he offered to pay for this, and they were denied. They were not allowed to exhume her remains.
I was going to say, so what do you want to do next? Do you want me to play? Do you want to talk about suspects and play the guy that says his voice sounds? Do you want to show the documents? What part would you like to do?
So just really quickly, in 2014, just so everybody knows, the family did file a formal complaint with the CRCC, which is the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission. They're an independent agency that investigates complaints against the RCMP. They make sure that everything is examined fairly and impartially. So for the review, sorry?
This one right here.
So that one just was released this year. This is just a statement, but the actual PDF that I sent you is 10 pages of this huge finding that the CRCC.
Do you want to put that up on your screen, on your thing, or do you want me to?
I can. I just need to find it. So the thing is, the RCMP have never released this. This 10-page portion of it was released by Amber's family. Let me see if I can figure out. Don't tell me. Let me see if I can figure out how to share.
Okay.
Share this document.
Yep.
Oh, no. No. It's only asking me if I want to share my my internet screens. How do I share a document? Can I do that?
A document? Yeah. Share a document. Just click on the document that it is. Whatever file it's in.
Share screen. What the heck? I don't see it. Window? Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, in window, underneath window.
Okay, I see it. I got it. Sorry, guys. I'm learning.
Sorry, I forgot about those tabs.
So here, Okay, so here is the report of, the findings. And basically, I am not going to read this whole 10 pages to you. It's very legal and boring to read. But basically, they came out and said, yeah, you guys screwed up. The findings, unfortunately, or the consequences to this, the recommendation was that the police should probably give them an official apology. That's what they had to do. So the commissioner stood up at a press conference and said, and I shit you not, he said, this was not our best work.
Yeah.
And offered an apology to the Tuccaro family. He excused himself early from that press conference because he had a meeting to get to. 3 days later, Amber's family went on record with the media and said, no, we don't accept this apology. This is not over. And the reason why we're not accepting this apology is because they didn't mean it. They only apologized because they were told they had to apologize. So, I mean, is this even like what? Obviously things have changed, and there's all kinds of programs now for missing and murdered, and part of the care program turned into an Alberta wide thing where high risk women are asked to go to Project Care and give DNA samples and kind of check in, and they monitor this lifestyle better now, I guess. And actually 3 of the 4 missing women who were found in close proximity to where Amber's remains were found were all actually registered with CARE, and they were identified through the DNA that they had provided to CARE before they went missing. So, and that's a new level of tragic to me, because they're so deep in that lifestyle that they know that they could go missing and be murdered, but they're still doing those high risk behaviors. And 4 of them actually did turn up missing, and their remains were found within 8 kilometers of where Amber's skull was found. And they're not saying that they're connected. So I don't even know what to say. Remy stuff, they did admit that there is an active serial killer in the city of Edmonton, targeting escorts from the Edmonton area. Having said that, though, Amber was taken from outside of the city. She was hitchhiking, and she's not an escort. She's not, she wasn't a drug addict. She wasn't a heavy drinker. She wasn't a partier, according to her family and friends. So, but who's to say that same person, that same serial killer, didn't happen to be at a convenience store in Nisku or a truck stop in Nisku and struck up a conversation with Amber, and that's how that all went down. Who knows? Anyway, so, but we should probably, maybe now that we know that the police said sorry, we screwed up, and everything should be good now. Another thing too that came out in 2013 in Fort Chipewyan, if you remember on that map, way up where Amber was born. Amber's, how do you guys identify it in the States? Her treaty card. So it's a government issued ID that identifies Indigenous people as a First Nations. Anyways, her ID card, her Indian ID card, was found in Fort Chipewyan at a hockey arena, and it was pinned to a community board, like a push pin into a community board, and it sat on that community board until somebody recognized Amber's face from all the missing persons photos in 2013. So the RCMP, when Tootsie called them to ask about this rumor, they had to go back and phone Fort Chipewyan to find out if that was true. And it was true. That ID card is now in Tootsie's possession, but we don't know if they took fingerprints from it, if it was handled by a bunch of people, but how did it get to Fort Chipewyan? Or Calling Lake, which is right up there too. How did it get there? And what was it doing in some random abandoned hockey bag?
Right.
So my point is, there have been pieces of evidence throughout the years that could have had DNA, could have had some clues, but it was all just pushed to the side. Right.
I mean, so at the end of the day, if they only found her skull, it was so obviously no DNA off of that, you would think.
And no,
No cell phone pinging in that area at that
And
time.
it doesn't, nobody's ever found out, including her family, if her cell phone was found out there, if her clothing was found with her skull. Nothing.
Right. But again, out here, that's why I like the US stuff, because you
Yeah.
can gather the information and
Status card. Thank you, Sharon. Yes.
yeah, status card. Um, but like, I mean, there should have been pinging in that small area of certain phones. Like,
Hmm.
so what did they? It's just a thing of what did they do and what didn't they do? Did
Hmm.
they really put a big effort into looking at cell phone pings at that time in that area, and stuff like that? Um, you know, but we don't know that.
But we
And
don't, but I mean, obviously, to me, it's pretty clear that they didn't, because back then, I don't think cell phone pings and tracking us by our cell phones was really, well known. It wasn't on everybody's radar. Like, I better turn my phone off or put it on airplane mode, or do you know what I mean? It was just, if you had a cell phone on
it
you,
was huge.
especially an older individual.
And this guy is older. You can tell by his voice. He is
Absolutely.
he is like some guy that I'm gonna put him probably in his 50s, to be honest.
50s. Yeah.
Yeah,
Me too. Same.
yeah.
Same.
You know,
And yeah, so that thing about the ID card is just another piece of valuable information that the police didn't connect. And we're not talking about back then going over provincial or state lines or different counties, or no, this is all within 2.5 hours of each other. This is all in the same province. And here in Canada, a lot of our laws and procedures are federal, and the ones that aren't are provincial. They're not
yeah,
within county lines. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, our province of Alberta is our province of Alberta. So if it goes into a database, and if it's just an Albertan database, then everybody, so they just didn't look into it, period. They just didn't look into it.
yeah,
There's no way to even
yeah.
try to make excuses for them.
Agreed. And it's
Yeah.
sad. Like I said, we're the thing that always gets me in all any of this all is I always think to myself, really, Mr. Cop, imagine if this was your daughter. How hard would you be trying then to find your daughter's killer? And that's the way every person should be looked at, as if it was their own child. Or their own, you know what I mean? Like, everyone deserves that type of decency in an investigation. Like, because like I said, the people that are investigating this, if this was their child, they'd be on it the whole entire time trying to figure out who did it, and that always gets my goat all the time. Oops, you took that down. Hello, people.
I did. I'm going to put
Well,
this one up.
but in the other one was all those, in that file that you just had up, though, was all those, what do I want to call it? One sec. Was all those findings. I wanted to show that because that was important. When the police had done in the lower part of that report.
Yes, and I'm trying to find it again.
I can get it.
You should be doing this stuff, because I'm just stupid at it.
Well, no, it's just because like I said, know it better. Let me just, where's my email here? I think it's right here. Okay. Okay, let me just hold on. Okay. And I can't make it bigger because it's in my email. So, the commission's findings and recommendations. Can you see it?
Not very good.
On yours, or okay.
Okay.
Let's just go through this, though, because this, to me, was important. Some of these things. So, finding: Constable was not involved in removing Miss Tuccuro from CPIC as a missing person. Finding number 2: Constable did not take reasonable steps to be satisfied that Miss Tuccuro, however you want to say it, was safe prior to removing the missing person entry relative to Miss, I say Tuccaro, okay, or Tuccaro, so from CPIC. Number 3, Constable spoke with a supervisor before removing Miss Tuccaro from CPIC as a missing person. 4, it was unreasonable for Constable to delay reinstating Miss Tuccaro's status as a. Thank you for subscribing, Chase 2017. And I'm sorry, I need to go back on there. So it was unreasonable for Constable to delay reinstating Ms. Tuccaro's status as a missing person in CPIC until September 23rd of 2010. Finding number 5, the information released to the media to the effect that the RCMP had no reason to believe that Ms. Tuccaro was in any danger and that her general whereabouts were known was inaccurate and had the effect of minimizing the significance of Ms. Tuccaro's missing person case at the time. Finding 6, it was reasonable for Constable, and sorry, Shar, if there's any point in there as I'm reading it that you want to interject and say something, feel free. Of course.
Yeah, I am listening and following along, but I'm also reading chat, so I don't remember some of these, so I don't forget some of these questions because they're points
Yeah.
that I
Well,
wanted
we'll come
to
back
bring up.
to them for sure.
Okay.
It was reasonable for Constable blank whatever to send the photographs of the suitcase and its contents by email to Miss Vivian Tuccaro, which is Tootsie. Okay. It was unreasonable for Constable to fail to seize Miss Tuccaro's suitcase and its content from the motel in a timely manner, contrary to basic investigative techniques relating to the collection of potential physical evidence, leaving the evidence vulnerable to contamination and or being lost or destroyed. Finding 8, Constable acting watch commander failed to provide reasonable supervisory oversight by not instructing Constable to seize Miss Tuccaro's suitcase and its contents from the motel. The corporal failed to follow the policy or reasonable investigative practices for securing seized property. I mean, shit, right? Corporal mishandling of Miss Tuccaro's suitcase and its contents resulted in members of the Leduc detachment accidentally destroying these items. The record does not support that corporal or constable deliberately chose to withhold information about Mr. Blank from Vivian Tuccaro. Constable failed to take reasonable investigation steps to locate and interview Miss Blank at an outset of the investigation. Constable, as acting watch commander, failed to ensure that the steps were taken to locate and interview. And this is when they're talking about Evangeline, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So they're talking about Evangeline McLean. Okay. So so what's her name? Evangeline, again, is the one that her and Amber flew from Fort Mac, whatever, to Edmonton and got the hotel. Angeline sold the credit card, paid for the way there. So that is who we're speaking of. She's the one that was with Amber and then dropped the child off at the CPS building and just booted it on home after basically Amber has gone missing. What that just blows me away. Constable, let's see. The record does not support the corporal or constable deliberately chose. Okay, I think we just said that one. Constable failed to take reasonable investigative steps to locate and interview missing. Oh, I already read that one too. Constable, as acting watch commander, failed to ensure the steps were taken to locate and interview Mrs. McLean. Corporal failed to ensure that the prompt investigative steps were taken to locate and interview Mrs. McLean following her meeting with Sergeant Blank on October 6, 2010. Corporal failure to attempt to arrange an interview of Miss McLean while she was in custody in Cape Breton, which is Nova Scotia, prior to her bail hearing on December 15th, 2010 was unreasonable. The record does not support that the corporal has failed to take investigative steps to locate, interview Mrs. McLean. The record does not support the allegation of conscious racial bias on any members during the conduct of the missing persons investigation. Constable Corporal and Leduc Department Senior Command failed to reasonably consider the heightened risk posed by Miss Blank lifestyle, and which resulted in poor investigative practices. Now, the record does not support the allegations of unconscious racial bias as members for a missing person investigation. Investigators at the Leduc detachment failed to comply with procedures prescribed by policy. During the first 4 months of the missing person investigation, neither Constable Blank, while acting as watch commander until early October of 2010, nor Corporal, upon arrival on October 4th, 2010, reasonably monitored the investigation as required by the missing persons policy.
So I'd like to just interject here that this woman was replaced, I want to say December 10th, 2010. And that's when the family firmly believes that the investigation started, because the investigator that took over was an Indigenous investigator.
Okay, hold on a second. Just give me 1 second, Charmaine. Please do not be abusing any mod powers that you have. Okay, people have a right to their opinions, and if you don't agree with it, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. If someone's being totally ignorant and rude and disrespectful to the chat and just sits as just whatever. So if he was put in timeout, please do not do that. Okay, and that's just abusing the mod powers of someone. Okay, that's having their own opinion. And if you don't agree with it, then that's fine. You don't have to. But I just don't want to see little arguments, because everyone has the right to their opinion, and you don't have to agree with them, but you at least be respectful in talking back with someone. I don't know exactly what was going on there, but I'm just placing me in timeout for correcting you. I've been taking a screenshot, so I'm just going to say that, okay, guys? The mod rights are not to use that just because you don't like what somebody else is saying. It's when people are trolls in the chat, or that they're talking to us, in a bad way. Okay, love you all. All right, now play nice. Okay, that was it for that. Go ahead. Sorry about that, but I just I saw that and I had to say something there.
I see it. Okay. Where did you leave off, the Leduc?
Oh, my bad. Okay, who threatened the mods in chat?
It was just a disagreement between a few of them about what the KKK is allowed to and not allowed to do in the US, as opposed to the UK, I believe.
But Miranda says they threatened the mods in chat. Where?
You meet racist people.
Because he said, be careful with me, people?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to get it, honestly.
Canadian, guys. We're very friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's what the sentence that you took is threatening on there, like I said, does it's is a person that comes in here, just play nice, okay, people? And we are talking about, Amber's case. I don't get into the whole KKK stuff and stuff like that. Myself, that's nothing I feel like talking about.
That's a really good question, Miranda. Why was Evangeline in jail? Again, it's Canada. We have no idea. Yeah. No idea. I can tell you that it's got absolutely nothing to do with this or stolen credit cards.
Miss Doglover, I don't really think that's fair. You're not just doing your job, because the job of a mod is to do exactly what I just said. And so she's saying she's resigning as a mod because of that. But I mean, I saw what was kind of going on, and I just left it alone. But the whole point of a mod is to, if somebody is literally being disrespectful and whatever, there was really no big disrespect. People were disagreeing with each other's opinion and stuff like that. And then I see a timeout thing happening. So I disagree with that, Miss Dog Lover. You know I love you, but the thing is that again, having a wrench is for when trolls come in and stuff like that, or they're abusing us. That was just somebody that was sitting there. You guys were going back and forth. But Miss Dog Lover, you know I love you. Stop that. It's like I
You're
said,
not allowed to resign.
yeah, yeah. You smarten up over there, and you guys all play nice. Yeah, okay, on there. It's just that this thing is, Miss Dog Lover too, is that not only do you have wrenches, but other people. And I've been through this before, where mods will just start hitting timeouts and this and that because they don't like a person, because they don't like what they're saying and stuff. So that's why to me it's like, unless there's something very ignorant, going on. But that to me was just a difference of opinions, and you didn't like what he said and he didn't like what you said, and blah blah blah. I don't know. All I saw was a couple people talking to Jazits, and then I was just like, I'm just gonna leave that one alone, but because we're on a different topic here. Anyways. Hey everyone. Hi. Anyways, Miss Dog Lover. Smart. Love you on there. And Jazits. Um, that statement though, yeah. I mean, probably wasn't the best words to say, definitely on there. But anyways, let's carry on, because this is about Amber's case, type of thing. Okay, so that's what we're here to talk about, not the KKK and stuff like that. But hey, people talk about freaking their grocery day and different stuff in chat as well. So the conversation.
And there is underlying hues of racism and stuff. So I understand how the conversation could go that way. But anyways.
Well, I'm not here to get like the KKK topic and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not going to get into that stuff. I don't even really know what was going on besides I mean, I did see kind of what was going on. I just chose to ignore it because there was just somebody saying something about KKK running USA. And then I think a couple of people made a comment, type of thing back. And then I wasn't really watching the rest of the conversation, but I can scroll back and it's not like it was like, a huge deal. But this is where, for me, it's just like there was no real threat. I don't know, grammatically clever. Just every now and again, people's panties get in a niche or something like that, and about stuff. But like I said, I'm not.
And as it pertains to this case, I don't know. I'm not ready to say that the RCMP are racist. Okay. And I know there's a fine line, and some people are going to argue with me about this, but this is one of the things that I have to teach. But there's a fine line between racism and discrimination. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that the whole point of this case, as this government agency, the RCMP, goes, we're not calling them racist. We're calling it discrimination flat out. And I'm not even saying alleged, because the Highway of Tears, missing and murdered Indigenous women, the unproportionate number of Indigenous women that are missing and not investigated thoroughly, that, I mean, it screams discrimination. And again, it's a fine line, and I suppose it depends on how you look at it, but I'm not saying that these officers are racist. I'm saying that they're ignorant and discriminatory against a certain group of individuals in our society, unfortunately. And I think knowledge is power, and I do believe that the RCMP and the government of Canada is learning that lesson slowly but surely. We're getting there, but it's not fast enough, and it's not it's too late for Amber's family. Hopefully we can get justice here, but I'm talking about the next victim and all of the other unidentified victims of the Highway of Tears. I don't know if this is connected to that or not, but so the Highway of Tears, just so everybody knows, is basically Highway 16 is part of the Trans-Canada, so it goes from coast to coast. And the missing and murdered Highway of Tears women, they're thought to be mostly gone missing in British Columbia, but the Highway of Tears actually travels straight through Alberta and all the way to the East Coast. So just because a large proportion of them are in British Columbia doesn't mean that, because how far? I want to say a 20-minute drive from Highway 2, where Amber went missing, to the Highway of Tears, Highway 16. So, just so you know, I mean, it could be connected, but I don't know if it is or not, but all of these cases deserve a spotlight, and they all deserve to have coverage on their cases. And Canada is notoriously quiet about this stuff. And I just thought it would be a really good idea to bring this case up because of the audio. It's solvable. Let's go.
It is solvable. It absolutely is. Definitely. And I'm going to go off track for 2 seconds, and then I'm going to come back on track again. Duncan, thank you for your comment. Although this was not like a necessarily thing for Miss Doglover, it was in general, because here we like everyone to have their opinion, and you know, and if someone disagrees with them, you know, too bad, right? Here, with trolls come in and start attacking the chat and being a troll, okay, time to go. If you attack us on the live, time to go. But disagreements are no reason for a timeout, because somebody's having a disagreement. And that's the rule for this channel, because people are entitled to their voices, even if you disagree. Now, if it becomes, you know, an ignorant match type of thing and stuff like that, then I'll just simply stop the live and say, knock it off. But anyways, that's how we do. I just believe in fairness, right? And that's hence why, because everyone is entitled to their opinions, even if others disagree. Someone might make the most absurd statement with Delphi, you know, and sure, I might say, well, that's, you know, maybe from a different planet that you're coming from, but you're entitled to your opinion. Simple as that.
I love how you passive aggressively call me out, Sunny.
Did I call you out?
Just my absurd views on Delphi.
Oh, I was just gonna say on there. Yeah.
Yes, we can stay on topic. Absolutely. So Miranda, the bag that Amber's ID card was found in, that information was never released, and I can't say that it was ever looked into, because the card itself was found pinned to a community board, a bulletin board.
Yeah, let me grab that. Hold on a second. I'll give me 1 sec there. Because I had seen it and I was gonna pull it off, and then I decided, I won't. And then, okay, so the certain details, of course, are crossed off there, but
yeah.
Let me bring that into this folder. And stop screen and present.
I'm just kind of going through some of the chat. Remy stuff, you asked a while ago if they think this was a serial killer. They have come out and said that they do not believe Amber's case is connected to the cases they have admitted could be that of a serial killer, even though, like I said, 4 other sets of remains were found within an 8-kilometer radius in Leduc County, the same place that Amber's remains were found. So, I mean, take that as you will, but the RCMP are saying, no, it's not connected. And I'm saying, why not? Tell us why it's not connected. They even had, Project CARE even had the FBI profilers come in and do like an overview of the case. and that's how they connected a few of them together. And that's why I was saying to Travis the other night that the RCMP, he made a comment in chat about how we're kind of up there when it comes to profiling as well. And I mean, I would have to disagree with that, because if that's the case, then if I can see this stuff looking between Calgary and Edmonton and all of these things that are going on, the way these women are found all on the outskirts of Calgary and Edmonton, even like the causes of death aren't being released. I'm sure the RCMP know more information, obviously, than we do, but most of the remains are skeletonized by the time they're found. They're all found on the outskirts of both cities, and it is a straight shot down the highway that separates Nisku from the Edmonton airport. That is a main highway in Alberta, and it is less than a 2-hour drive to get to Leduc County from the Calgary city limits. So it's not that far of a stretch to think that one person could be responsible. But I have a really hard time believing that more than one person is using that same area as his dumping ground, as their dumping ground. Yes, it is remote. Yes, it is secluded. But unless you're here, I guess you can't really picture it. But the whole area between Calgary and Edmonton is remote and secluded. There are little towns scattered here and there, but the area is vast, and it's all farmland with patches of treed and wooded areas here and there. I mean, to me, there's the chances of more than one person using that area as his dumping grounds. I think it's a stretch. I think it's a stretch.
I'm just letting you kind of answer questions or whatever.
Yeah, there was another one up here, and I lost it, and I'm sorry.
No, the family, did they go down and do their own search? I thought that they did. Did they?
They were there from the third day. Obviously, they did the missing persons report on the 19th. I'm sorry, not the third day, I guess. The third day after she was gone. They were down there by the 20th to file the missing persons report number 1. And then even when they said you have to wait 24 hours, they were pinning posters, missing persons posters, all over the city, all over Nisku. And they stayed there doing that. Miranda Lee, you can collect calls on a cell phone in the US. And I suspect maybe now you can in Canada too. But as I said at the beginning, my brother was in the Edmonton Remand Center in 2004. So, and I know that he had to collect calls to a cell phone, and cell phones back then here couldn't collect phone calls. So, like I said, it's totally possible, but it makes more sense to me because the Edmonton Remand Center deletes those recordings after 90 days. The police didn't have that recording for the first year, and then they didn't release it for another year. So there's something there that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Yep, I was going to say.
Oh, I found it.
Okay, what'd you find?
Miranda Lee again. Where did Evangeline go after she dropped the baby off with Child Protective Services? So as far as we know, she flew back to Fort McMurray, packed her stuff, and then moved back to Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. And what I wanted to bring up about, and I don't really want to bring it up, but I'm going to, because when we did the episode on the podcast, my daughter, my co-host, she's a different bird, and she's got some really great ideas, but she tends to look at the darker side of things. And I appreciate that about her when it comes to the podcast. She said that she had time alone with Amber, girls talk. So we don't know really what the relationship between Amber and Tootsie was. We don't know if Amber had said something to Evangeline about not leaving Jacob with her mom. We don't know why. Amber didn't leave Jake. And I'm not disparaging Tootsie at all. It could be as simple as
There's a perfect
maybe
example.
her mom was not feeling well, like she said, but maybe there was, and I don't want to sound like I'm standing up for Evangeline because she's sketchy as hell, but maybe there was a reason that Evangeline didn't want Jacob to go with Tootsie. Unfounded, not right, totally alleged. And like I said, it didn't come from my pea brain. It came from my co-host who sees the darker side of things, and she's very well rounded when it comes to thinking outside of the box. But we don't know her reason for doing that. On the surface, it looks sketchy and it looks wrong and immoral and cruel.
Right.
And that's where I am.
Yeah.
But we don't know the context of that, right? So, and I feel terrible for even bringing it up because that sounds like you're almost attacking the mom, and I'm not. But I just don't know any kind of conversation that Amber or insinuations that Amber may have made to Evangeline that maybe
Right.
contributed to that decision. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but anyways, if you guys have asked a question and it hasn't been answered, can you just retype them? I'm trying my best to go through the chat, but I don't want to miss anything.
Let's see here. Yeah, just retype anything if you have a question. Makes it easier now because a lot of the conversation isn't relevant. Some of it that I'm scrolling up to. Now, at what point? Tell me when you want me to play the.
I think it's a good time to get into the suspects, Sunny. I do.
Yeah.
We've been going for an hour and a half, and I mean,
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna do that, guys. We're gonna play. So just give a preface, of course, preface, of course, to what we're gonna be listening to now.
okay. So we're going with the voice comparison, are we?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So basically, this guy, Dustin McKisson, he came out. I actually have a tip received thing. Okay. Let me try to share my screen.
Oh, I have that in the video, by the way.
The tip received thing?
Yeah.
From January 2020?
Well, is it that little bit of an article where it says the police, like he's a social?
I'll just read it.
Okay.
I'll just read it. So this is a Royal Canadian Mounted Police website, just a news release, and it was dated January 24th, 2020. It says, in early December 2019, the Banff RCMP was contacted by a male who alleged that his father may be responsible for a missing person from the Banff area. The male also stated that he believed that his father may be linked to numerous missing persons and homicide files in Alberta. On January 20th, 2020, the male advised the RCMP that he believed his father to also be involved in the disappearance and murder of Amber Tuccuro. The RCMP members have investigated the initial allegations and determined that many of the names of the missing persons files provided to the RCMP by the individual had already been solved. Investigators assigned to the Amber Tuccuro file are reviewing the information provided by the individual and will take whatever investigative actions is deemed appropriate. The RCMP continue to seek information on the Amber Tuccuro case, but caution that erroneous information can have negative effects to the investigation and to the well-being of the family. The Amber Tuccuro case remains open. So then, that's Project Care. So the guy that he's talking about here is Dustin McKisson. His father is David McKisson. And basically, Dusty came out
yesterday in public.
There we go. Okay, that's who we're talking about.
Okay, so Dusty came out on social media and said that he was drugged and essayed by his father in 2010. Most people don't believe that. He supposedly doesn't remember it happening, but he said he woke up bleeding. The reason most people don't believe this, because in 2010, Dusty was a grown man, and probably would have remembered that or any other kind of abuse. But Dusty released a voice comparison. We're going to listen to it in a minute here. He accused his father of multiple crimes, including the Ketty murders in the United States. David McKisson, the dad, is a U.S. citizen and lives sometimes in Arizona, but also in Alberta. At the time of Amber's case, from what I understand, he lived, get this, Sonny, he lived on a ranch northwest of the Edmonton area, which may be a strange coincidence when we talk about the next suspect.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten completely into this because as of right now, all of his social media is scrubbed. The only thing that you can find is on LinkedIn. And where he says he started a new job called the Director of Thought Leadership. And it's with a company based out of Clearwater, Florida. And at least 2 of the executive board members have links to the Church of Scientology, which is, bizarre. But as of now, like I said, all of his social media accounts are scrubbed. But this Dustin guy, he may have gone dark, but like I said, let's just play the.
Okay. Now, I do want to warn you guys that there's no really high quality to this video. So you guys might want to turn your volumes up for the first part of it when he's talking, because it's so low and I can't make it any higher. Even with volume master, that thing's pointless, I swear. But anyway, so let's play it, but just turn your things. If it's too low, I can't do any more than what I'm doing, okay?
A post to Facebook regarding my suspicions of my father being the voice on the male voice on the Amber Tuccuro video. I was going to go ahead and play that video along with 2 voicemails we have from him. Those are recorded under very different circumstances, obviously, but there are some distinct speech patterns my father uses, one of which is always dropping the G, and throughout the call with where Mr. Carl's present, the G is consistently dropped in a specific way. The same thing in these voicemails. Also, there's a common word used in all 3, and that's going, pronounced that specific way. It's a little harder to hear in the video with her, obviously, than it is in these voicemails. Also in the video with her, he is obviously aggravated. That's a different kind of thing than leaving a voicemail for your family members. But all of his children and all of his grandchildren have confirmed in writing that we believe that the voice is him, along with several family friends. So I'm going to go ahead and play that video, and then I'm going to go ahead and play these 2 voicemails. Forgive me for the low-tech quality, and if there's any awkwardness in switching over, we're going to try and make them as close together as possible. Thank you.
Where are we by?
We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont.
We're heading north to Beaumont. Yo, where are we going? No, this is a... Are you fucking kidding me? You better not take me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. Jeez. Yo, we're not going into the city, are we?
We're going.
No, we're not.
Yes.
So where the fuck are these roads going to?
50th Street.
50th Street. Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yo, where are we going?
50th Street.
50th Street.
50th Street.
East, right? Over town. Valley.
Told us just called to see how everything's going. Give me a call back, I believe about 10 anyway. Tell everybody I love them. Hope everything's okay. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye.
Hey, Megan. This is Grandpa.
I just wanted to tell that birthday boy happy birthday. I don't have any of the contacts on my own old phone to put into the new one, so yours the only number I can remember anyway. So just I wanted to tell him happy birthday. Love you all. Hope everything's going good. Okay, bye.
So we do have a few other videos. We're not going to include these because there are several other voices and it's from a much older home video. But again, my father was very paranoid about being photographed or recorded, so the examples are limited, but we do believe those patterns show up. Also, everyone in my family's heard my dad's aggravated tone, so we are very familiar with the rest of it, including and in particular when he says 50th Street and the way he does that. Myself, my brother, and several family members have identified him based on that alone. So again, thank you for watching this. Thank you for engaging with the post. Please know that we are doing nothing other than trying to help, and we wouldn't be making these claims or posting these things if we did not believe that it would do some good. Thank you.
Alberta RCMP are looking into a tip regarding the possible identity of Amber Tuccuro's killer, but warn erroneous. You already read this. This is the one I had. Same one,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I'll just let it play out for a second. It's not very long. Lengthy message on social media outlining why he believed his father was involved in not only Tuccuro's death, but other disappearances across the province. Now, those posts have since been taken down, but the RCMP said in a news release on Friday that the man previously in December contacted Banff RCMP with similar accusations that his father was involved in missing person cases in that area. But RCMP say the names of the missing persons the man mentioned are part of files already solved. RCMP are still reviewing information provided by that man. The RCMP continues to seek information on the Amber Tuccuro case, but caution that erroneous information can have a negative effects on the investigation and to the well-being of the family, RCMP added. Tuccuro was last seen alive at a motel in Nisku on August 18th of 2010 after flying to Edmonton from Fort McMurray with her 14-year-old son Jacob and a female friend a day earlier. Tuccuro's skull was found in a rural Leduc County on September 1st, 2012, nearly 2 years later.
Is that it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was just it. It was just, you know what?
Okay.
I accidentally covered up the hotel. We don't believe is there anymore.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it. Like I said, it's got Nisku right by the airport there. It's got the province's biggest Costco, and I love it. So I'm there like at least twice a month. I don't remember seeing this hotel for the longest time. I don't know when it disappeared, but there's dozens of hotels back there. Dozens.
I was gonna say it's like let me just, because I put her picture in it because it was just off somebody's thumbnail. This was the actual thumbnail. So this is somebody else that did a live on it or something. Anyways, that's the hotel back there. Just your cheap dive hotel, cheap, but yeah. So that's the only picture I found at the time. I was looking for it anyway. I remember seeing it. It's just that I couldn't remember the YouTube creator that had it in her thing, and so I just didn't feel like searching for it that hard. So since I came across that, I was like, okay, well, there's at least a representation, pretty much what it looks like there. But
Miranda,
okay.
no. So David McKisson is he's described as a meth addicted drifter who lives on the streets in Arizona and will sometimes travel to Alberta. I could not find a picture that I could verify to be him. Our next suspect, though, he's got a lot more, publicity. There's actually a website dedicated to warn people about this man. So, as for David McKisson, I mean, there's apparently the RCMP have looked into him. I read that press release for you from 2020. They didn't find any connection. It could be a lot like, I don't know if you guys know about, there's a guy in the States somewhere that swears his, what's his name? Ed Edwards. Swears he's responsible for every high profile case of this. Could be something like that. And the fact that now he's taken, his son Dusty has taken all of that information off of social media. Some people say it's because him and his family were being threatened. Other people say it was because he was running for political office. And other people say it was because he was looking for a job. And most commonly people think that it's because he was lying. Me, myself, I do hear similarities in that voice, but to me, the fact that he scrubbed his social media of all of this and he's not saying anything, and it's been 3 solid years since we heard from him, I think that speaks volumes. Do you know what I mean?
So do I, exactly. So I felt the same way, that I felt like there was, because of like, so what he was trying to show there was like, you know, like going and drops the G type of thing. And that's similar. So I did feel like the voices were similar, but I mean, all we have to do is go to the freaking BG, and how many people thought that that voice sounded like this person, that person, you know? But I can understand, you know, perhaps, but that, you know, that sounds very remotely like his father. But if everything's been taken down and stuff like that, you know, for whatever reasons, we don't really know, but if it is, chances are it's because, you know, it's probably, you know, not him.
You got to give me a minute here, Sonny. My horse troop needs to go outside. They're going to.
Okay. The voice on the call could have been identified, and RCMP could have interviewed him, but he could have claimed he just dropped off Amber. Well, like I said, you know, this case, you know, as like I said in the documents, the ones I was reading down where it was saying about, you know, not doing, you know, a reasonable job or I feel like this case definitely can be solved. I think that a lot of stuff was not done that should have been done for sure, as we could, you know, really in the documents pretty much show that. And like I said, you know, destroying the suitcase, people, destroying the suitcase, accidentally destroying the suitcase of Amber's from the hotel and stuff like that. You know, that's like not taking the freaking Delphi sticks that are sitting on top of the girls, you know, and oops. But, you know, like there should be a way with, like I said, regardless at the end of the day, you know, phone pinging and all that stuff was still back there. The technology was there, you know, to do so. I just think that this case is just got pushed off to the side, really. And if something comes about or someone sends in something, you know, then okay, I guess we'll look into it.
And the more ears that hear that clip, you never know. Like I said before, there are some escorts that did say that they recognize that voice, and the next suspect is who they named. So I mean,
you know, he reminds. Yes, I was going to say, I don't think for 1 second, going by my gut feeling, I don't think for 1 second that that's his first time.
No.
That this guy has taken a life. I think that, yeah, no. I think that it's, did they, I mean, what road did they find her on? Can you pull up the map? Can you?
Yes.
Google Earth.
Oh, man. I keep forgetting to share screen. I just think I pull it up and you can see it. Just a second.
Oh.
I'll get used to it. My bad.
Hey,
there it is.
Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Okay.
Quite a somber.
All right. So this here is Nisku, and we don't know. We actually don't know what road he was actually going on, but he told her they were going on 50th Street.
Right.
So I don't know
or
how
that they were,
far.
yeah, going towards 50th or something like that.
Yeah, going towards 50th Street, and he was also saying that they were east of Beaumont.
South
So
of Beaumont.
south of
Well,
Beaumont here.
they said east, like she was going east, but he said south, that we're south of Beaumont heading to 50th Street or whatever it was.
Right, which 50th Street should be.
Probably
I don't know
that
how
long
far
one.
in. I don't use Google Earth, Sunny, so.
Oh, that's fine. Anyways, let's see
But
here.
anyways, 50th Street would run, and it does. 50th Street does go straight into Edmonton. It does. So, and it's
I'll show you. I
if
mean,
I'm
here, 1 second.
it's right in Nisku, 50th Street, and then it comes out of.
Right.
Like, why does mine not do what yours does?
Okay.
Do you pay for yours?
Well, do you have yours checked? Here,
No.
here. I'm gonna stop screen for a sec. 1 second.
I didn't know I was doing this part of it. I'm sorry.
No, because that's the
Yeah.
whole point. Now you can play for later, but let me take it down for a sec. I'm gonna present screen and we'll go over to here. Okay, so this is Leduc, and then Edmonton, of course, up there. So well, this is on a different. I have this on a different thumbnail. It kind of takes you to the center of Edmonton, and then Charmaine said about 10 minutes to basically the border of basically getting into the Edmonton area. But anyways, East 50th Street. This is Beaumont. So East 50th Street is like right up there is where it's taking me to on Google Maps. Now he said that like they're taking like a back road or something like that. So
That's just where he was claiming they were, but they weren't. She was
right.
found way out, right? Like 17 minutes out east of.
I was going to say the guy that was talking on the care in that video. Remember, he said we believe that she was. What did he say? What did he say in that video? Something about that they believe she was out of like Leduc in the county area or something like that. I'd have to go back and listen to it again. My brain's mush on the different numbers going on in my head, but it's really, I mean, I'm not exactly sure to show you on the map here exactly where her skull was found. I'd have to look, deeper to be honest, in the case. This is a case that Charmaine brought to me. Delphi has kind of overtaken our lives lately. And so I haven't had time to put in the work that I typically would like to do. Hence why Charmaine's doing a lot of the talking tonight, because I know the gist of the case. And I've listened to videos, but then Delphi came along and I got sidetracked. And that's why Charmaine, like I said, has been following this case. And it's a good case to talk about, to bring awareness. You have an audio of a person. And I think between that and the lack of due diligence on the RCMP is why this case isn't solved. I think this is an absolute, totally solvable case. I just don't think that, like I said, they're putting in the effort that this case deserves. And if they did, it would probably be solved, to be honest with you. I mean, it doesn't seem like, in a sense, you got, like I said, cell towers, pingings of phone, they were still capable of, whatever, tracking back then. Was there DNA? Did they, who knows? We don't know what they did or didn't all do, but they destroyed a suitcase. What was the other thing? Destroyed a suitcase. Besides 24 hours, there was another thing. What was the other thing that
they took her off the missing persons list?
Oh,
they
that was it.
The suitcase.
Yeah.
They didn't start investigating for almost 4 months until December.
Yeah.
They didn't connect the dots with that piece of ID that was found in Calling Lake. They didn't do DNA testing. They didn't test Amber's skull against her son's DNA. There's a lot that they didn't do.
So, Scott says, who was the next suspect? So, have you said all the few suspects? I had to go to the washroom when you were kind of talking about it.
Two main suspects. The next
No, they
one's
didn't.
name. No, they didn't. So the next suspect is Pat Carson.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, so he's at the top of the list of suspects. He's been convicted of sexual offenses. Am I allowed to say that? I'm sorry.
Hold on. What? Yeah, 1 second. Miss Dog Lover. You didn't fuck up. I didn't. First of all, I didn't know which mod did it. It's just that is the rule of the channel here. Just have your disagreements. But but I do want to say this. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to ask you in chat there. And I'm going to ask you, Charmaine, because I really want to be fair here on this. At one point, Jizitz had said, so Miranda Lee said, at Jizitz, you'll meet racist people everywhere. Unfortunately, I think you should stay on target and focus on the Amber case. And then there's a couple comments. Now, there's probably more before that. And then Jizitz says, be careful with me, people. Thank you. And then Jizit says, be careful with me, people. Thank you. Now, I didn't take that as like, it's one of those things that you're like, was that over the top harsh? Not really.
Be careful with me, people, and see my brain, because I don't even know how to put it. I'm a softie and I'm a complete pushover when it comes down to it. So I took that as, be kind to me, people. And I'm probably wrong. I don't know. But I just took that as a please don't argue with me.
But that's basically how I took that as. But, again, it becomes about perception. So I didn't know who hit the timeout. It was just kind of like the rule of the channel is that if you don't agree with someone's opinion, that doesn't matter, just ignore them and stuff. But if somebody is clearly on the attack and they're coming in trolling and they're being so like disrespectful, rude, ignorant in tone and stuff like that, I didn't perceive it that way. I was watching the bit that I saw, which was most of it, to be honest. And I just I didn't see that one until I went and looked up, but I didn't really deem it as that harsh. But it's just that in general, as the rule of the channel, Miss Dog Lover, and I've said this many times, and it's just that, like I said, unless someone's doing those two things, other than that, people are good to stay here and have their differences of opinions. Like Ivy said at the end, agree to disagree. You can voice your opinion. If you don't like what they say back, you can say something back to it. As long as it's just kept respectful. That's all I care about, So I didn't take that comment, but maybe Miss Dog Lover saw that more as like a threat. I personally, this much saw it that way, if anything. So Miss Dog Lover, you know that you are one of the biggest supporters of this channel, and I love you. And I'm sorry if you felt that that I thought you were, or that you thought I was wrong in what I said. I still stand by what I'm saying, but just knowing that always to the mods, that's just the way we run in here. Because if we timed out people all the time because we didn't like what they said or this, but I can see that Miss Dog Lover was thinking, okay, well, like that, like a threat. But I didn't take it really that way. As more as somebody basically like, yeah, like knock it off in a sense. Thank you. Be kind, like, you know what I mean? Be nicer type of thing. Don't piss, I didn't take it that deeply. Like that's a very nominal threat on the threshold of threats, if anything, compared to what people do in chat rooms. I just don't want this ever. I don't like bickering and arguing in chats. I blocked out. Well, Ray will disagree with me. I remember him and somebody else were bickering, and I was like, you know what? You guys just won't stop. And I literally blocked them for the live because I just couldn't take it anymore. Because we are here for Amber, and this is a case we're talking about and stuff like that. And honestly, I mean, like I said, I'm going to stand by what I say. I feel like I was being fair, knowing full well who Miss Dog Lover is and respecting her and whatever. if I maybe wasn't the creator of the show and was in chat and saw that, I might take it differently by my perception as well. But just anyways, Miss Dog Lover, I love you. Stop. Yeah. Uh, I think Miss Dog Lover was doing their well. I'm going to disagree with that, Miranda, because as I just stated, that I think Miss Dog Lover felt she was for sure. Okay, if she's basing it on that comment, but at the end of the day, the whole thing about mods are the rules that I put out, not because a mod doesn't like somebody or disagrees with somebody. There's two things. There's two things only to modding. Don't disrespect us on the live, and don't disrespect others and start attacking them in the live and being disrespectful and trolling. I didn't consider that conversation that way. I figured it just looked like adults disagreeing with each other, but then you just leave it. Agree to disagree. You might not like someone's opinion, but if you want to get into like a battle of the comments with it and whatever, I just usually choose to ignore those. If I don't like what somebody says, I just really ignore it for the most part, unless it's, of course, it's in the live. Anyways, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But no shade to Miss Dog Lover. I just want you to know that, because you know how much we love you. You know how much I love you personally beyond the YouTube channel. And like I said, she knows. Okay. All right. You want to move? Well, I just want you to feel complete and whole. Okay. On there. Okay. So Pat Carson.
So I've shared my screen with you.
Thank you.
Can you see it? So this is one of the, I guess, better pictures that I found of him. Like I said, he's at the top of the suspect list. He's been convicted of sexual offenses. He is known for posting ads online offering free room and board for ranch hands. He'll also offer to teach people to train horses. And there is a website dedicated to him to warn other people to stay away. And this is what we're looking at here. The Madman's Ranch. So this ranch is in Onaway, Alberta. And once I get through this, we'll open it back up. Sunny's laughing because it is a running joke for everybody that lives up here, because once you leave Edmonton and you go off the main highway onto our Highway 43 to get to Whitecourt and Fox Creek, first town you hit is Onaway, and we all say, well, we're on our way, right?
On our way home. We're on our way back to Whitecourt.
On our way. So anyways, this ranch is just outside of Onaway, which is about 50 kilometers northwest-ish of Edmonton. So not far at all. The name of his ranch changes probably when word gets out, stay away. The owner changes names as well. Pat Carson, aka Patrick Carson, or Bill O'Brien, Robert Irvine, Ed Flynn, is potentially violent, previously convicted sex offender, luring victims to his ranch in Sandy Beach and Onaway, Alberta. Sandy Beach is right near there. So he was released from Fort Saskatchewan Correctional Center, which is part of Edmonton, on January 28, 2003, after serving a sentence for sexual exploitation and touching a young person for sexual purposes. I'm so sorry, Sunny. Can I not say that? Should I not be saying that? I'm sorry.
Well, I know that you don't run a YouTube channel, like really,
I'm so
right?
sorry.
So
No.
I know that you're not used to the words. So what word did you say that you sexual purpose? Nah, go ahead, whatever.
All of the S words. I'm so sorry. I'll try to do better. So he has a criminal record, obviously, that includes previous convictions for those things. Correctional Services Division of the Alberta Attorney General has designated Patrick as a high-risk offender. So it says here, well, you might think people can change, and he served his sentence, so what's the problem? The problem is that he hasn't stopped. He continues to lure people into his isolated ranch where you can't just run away and no one can hear you scream. In 2020, Pat Carson, under the alias Ed Flynn, put up an ad on Kijiji. Is that an American thing too? Kijiji?
No? Oh, yeah, it's a Kijiji. Kijiji's in America, right?
Okay, so looking for young people to help on his ranch, but the post was taken down after it was found out who actually made it.
Yeah.
An anonymous poster on the sex offender blog spot states that Pat Carson was recruiting in the summer of 2021 as well. They had answered that ad. So can I just exit out of this one and share my next one, or how do I do that?
Well, you just share your next one, how you do it. Yeah. Yeah. Ivy, do you guys have Kijiji over there? Oh, okay. I thought it was in the US as well.
Okay, so maybe just take a second and explain what Kijiji is. Do you know what Facebook Marketplace is? Or eBay? eBay is another one. Kijiji is just like that. It's just a place to go to find stuff to buy from other people.
Yeah, I was trying to think of that main one, Craigslist.
Craigslist.
Yeah.
There we go. Kijiji is like the Craigslist in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, so did I share that? I think I shared another one with you.
That one. This is in Canada. She seems lured. Do you have audio? Yeah, we played it a few times actually, MK. The audio.
We can play it again when I'm done
We'll
going
play
through.
it again. Yeah, towards the end, and like we're not gonna be too much longer on the live.
No. So basically, I mean, I don't want to go through and read all of these accounts of the things that this man did. There's been no connection between him and Amber. We'll just put that out there right now. But basically what he does is he brings people in to help him in his ranch, and he starts out by being a very nice elderly man who just needs help, and then he kind of breaks the ice with maybe perverted jokes, and then he starts to cross the line a lot of times. This individual that made this post said that in his basement she found like a stack of clothing, from men's clothing, women's clothing, children's clothing, including shoes and boots. And there's no kids that live on his ranch. And she just thought that he was very creepy, and they got out of there like as quickly as she could. So, so this one is the more recent one. There was another one actually from 2014, and this guy has been on the radar of Amber's case since it happened. And like I said, he frequents escorts, and 2 escorts came forward after that audio came out and said that is Pat Carson's voice. But again, the RCMP said that they'd looked into him. They've never come out and said that he's cleared, but they've looked into him. So it's kind of the same idea as Delphi. You remember when they used to say, we've covered that individual, but they wouldn't come right out and say, we cleared this individual. So, and he's still, yes, Miranda, we do have a sex offender registry, but it's not public as it is in the United States. We have to actually apply to get it. And even getting transcripts and stuff for closed cases, we have to pay per word. It's the access here is not easy. Even the stuff that's part of the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, they do not make it easy to get that information. I once looked into getting the transcript of the Paul Bernardo trial, and it would have cost me something like $1,200 to get the transcript for that trial. So we do have a sex offender registry, and it works pretty much the same as it does in the United States. The only difference is we don't have like easy public access. We can't just type in on a website and find addresses and locations and stuff like that.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm just going to read this quickly. It says the NSOR is a product of the Sex Offender Information Registration Act, which was created in 2004. Once the offender's information is entered into the database, it is accessible to everyday accredited police agencies in Canada. The public does not have access to this information. So, yeah. Why do you think we
The
like?
last thing you said, Ivy, I don't know what I am and am not allowed to say on YouTube, and I don't want to affect Sunny's ability to get clicks and her staying green. So I don't know what to say, but the last one that you said, the lot lizards and
Oh,
escort.
we call them escorts. Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, it's been yellow the whole time. We'll see if it turns green at some
I don't
point.
think it will, and
Well,
it's my
hey,
bad. I'm sorry.
let me put it this way. So when you're doing something like this and you're not being exploitive, right, with pictures, and you're not being exploitive with information and you're not using it, but when you're doing it for documentary purposes and stuff like that, but the thing is that YouTube's AI algorithm, AI sucks butt. Okay, they've been a lot better. YouTube has, with turning things green instead of freaking yellow all the time. They have gotten better. They did do somewhat of an update, but bottom line is that there are like it's how AI determines to catch it. And like, I mean, I can sit there and say, hey, YouTube, smarten up. I can use the word murder, okay? I'm allowed, okay? Because we're talking about this in a non-exploitive way. It's just the fact that YouTube, like any program, is only as good as it is. Simple as that. And YouTube would normally, like this YouTube live has been yellow the whole time, but maybe it might turn green once it finishes. And if not, then sadly I'll have to request a review. That could take YouTube 5 to 6 days to decide. Okay, you're just fine. Oh, really, YouTube? I mean, I know I am, but thanks for wasting all my, any sort of ad earnings in a sense goes. So
Yeah, no, I mean I know they're not escorts, and I think yeah, I apologize for the miscommunication there, but they are what they are.
yeah.
I mean I'm super sorry, Sonny, if I cost you any money
No,
here.
I legitly do not care. Like I
Okay.
legitimately, I was over that a long time ago. You know,
Okay.
it's the donations in lives that truly help. Once the live is over, it will turn into a video, and that's when any sort of views. But if it stays yellow, that means it takes YouTube usually at least 2 to 5 days and sometimes longer to deem it as green, almost like 99% of the time for me. But by then, you've already missed the views, really. Like that's the part that sucks is that you put a lot of work and time into doing stuff and then that happens. But that's YouTube's. And that's not you. The words that you're saying, you're actually allowed to say, but we just kind of try to eliminate some of them, but I'm not really caring. So don't worry about it, Charmaine. Just say the words that
Okay.
are on there.
Okay. So this site that we're looking at now is dedicated to basically anytime somebody sees a new ad by this guy or one of his aliases come up looking for ranch hands, they'll post it here and say, yo, heads up, listen to this. So just as an example of the ads that he would post, here's one: need a break from city life, back to nature in a setting of mostly unspoiled timberland. Our ranch has been in the family since 1887. Over the years, several family and friends have spent time here to decompress from the stresses of day-to-day life. If you can lend a hand from time to time, we can certainly put you up at the ranch. Our uncles, after coming back from World War II, found the old home place a godsend until they felt ready to get on with their life. So, appealing to people who may be struggling, needing a place to live, in exchange for some ranch work. It's a very old timey concept. Do you know what I mean? Where men used to go actually from ranch to ranch looking to be a farmhand or whatever in exchange for food and shelter. So it's kind of dirty to me in this day and age. Like,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
hey folks, it's time to walk the talk. The first picture you see is 300-year-old spruce. Just bringing people like they're harmless. Come and help me at my ranch. It's just silly. Yeah, so it says here we're located 50 kilometers northwest of Edmonton, 160-acre homestead property. So anyways, getting back to it, the prostitutes, the prostitutes did identify his voice as the voice on that recording that we'll listen to again here at the end. So, I mean, hopefully none of you ever come across this guy, but
Because I don't know why, but what is his name? Pickerton.
Robert Picton.
Robert Picton. Remember the pig farmer, guys? You guys remember the pig farmer over there? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, when I first started looking into this case again, I was surprised to find out that there was a website in Canada dedicated to warn people about this person that's never been charged for this crime.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because everything here, like, it's not considered secretive here, but it's all private. It's all confidential in Canada. Investigations, like, you cannot get information. So this surprised me in Canada. And I mean, I'm here for it. I'm all for it. I think it's great. But yeah, and the only other thing that I was going to share is the same kind of thing, but it's from back in 2014. And it was just kind of to show that he's been doing this for a very long time, and people are still going in to help him at his ranch. And more people are coming out of there saying this guy's creepy. Nothing happened to me other than completely inappropriate conversations, and creeped me out. So I left, thankfully.
Yeah.
But you know, who knows what he's capable of or what he's done in the past. And most recently, he's been investigated and accused of abusing his horses on his ranch. So
really, eh?
I mean, if you're familiar with profiling, I guess, and the behaviors of these sick individuals, some of their MO can be to be cruel to animals. And who knows what kind of abuse they're talking about, because let your mind wander. It could be pretty bad. So that's basically what I've got to share on him. Nobody's been charged. The latest thing, there was a post by the RCMP in March of this year, basically saying this case is still ongoing. If you have tips, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, if it wasn't for the family reaching out to the media, nobody would be hearing about this case. Because how often I don't know about you guys, but how often do Canadians go onto the RCMP website to look at press releases? I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
That's not something that I regularly do. If I see something or hear something, then maybe I'll go look. But that's not the way to get the word out. The word out is to contact the mainstream media, and that's what the family tries to do. Mainstream media, they're not overly receptive to podcasters and YouTubers, I want to say very politely. But in any case, this case, Amber and her son Jacob and Tootsie and Paul and the entire family, they deserve this case to be in the limelight and to get as many ears on that recording as possible.
I was going to say, I'm going to drop a link in the chat to you guys that I think, for anyone that is interested in learning some more about this case, I feel like the stories of the unsolved, I didn't read it yet, but I could tell looking at it, if you guys want to kind of go through the case, and then at one point there's questions asked to Tootsie through it. And I think if you read it, like I said, just that one link that I dropped you there, will give you a really good idea of what's been going on throughout the time, the years, and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, like I said, I wish we could cover everyone that's murdered or missing and stuff like that. We can't.
So,
but go ahead,
Miranda. What I can tell you about that is there were 4 additional sets of remains found within an 8-kilometer radius of where Amber's skull was found, and 3 of those 4 were Indigenous, and all 4 of those women were sex workers. So, and it seems weird that she would leave her son. It truly does. It truly does. And this is why I question, I go back to what brought Evangeline to that Unity house? Did it have anything to do with sex trafficking? Was she, and I don't want to use the language, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Was she hunting at the Unity house for a vulnerable person? You know?
Right. You talk about Evangeline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as for calling children's services or dropping Jacob off with children's services right after Amber didn't come back, we don't know the context of that. Could it have been due to something that Amber maybe had shared with her about leaving Jacob with her family? I don't know. I don't believe that myself, but we don't know the context of that. But I don't think we need a whole lot of context to decide everything that Evangeline has done since saying, do you want to come to Edmonton with me with these stolen, with these plane tickets that I just bought with a stolen credit card? Everything she's done since that point has been,
And not even been interviewed. It's crazy.
yeah. And citing the RCMP, the latest, they had, they were, they were supposed to schedule an interview with her in 2020, but cited the pandemic for the reason that they couldn't do it, and they haven't followed up.
Mm.
So,
Duckin says, does Canada have a LexisNexis community crime maps? I always start there when researching a case to look for trends. Honestly, I haven't. This is like the second time I've even talked about a Canadian crime. I've been doing U.S. cases in England, and I felt like it was time to, put in a slot there for Canadian true crime when Charmaine brought this case to my attention, and it's something that I've wanted to do for a while. At first, because I wasn't intending on kind of growing a channel and whatever, but I like the fact that we can be a platform together, everybody, and work at bringing awareness to the cases. And I felt like, like I'm from Vancouver, Canada. Charmaine is from Alberta, up in Alberta, Canada there. Oh, that's just quickly reminds me.
just really quickly, Remy stuff. We don't know where Amber was going that night. We don't even have a solid reason for the entire trip. There's been reports that maybe it was for Evangeline had a doctor's appointment, didn't want to go alone. They were going to the West Edmonton Mall, which is a huge attraction. Maybe she was going there to visit her brother who was in the Edmonton Remand Center. Nobody knows. And further that, we don't know what they did during the day, probably what they went to Edmonton to do. I suspect it was probably go to the West Edmonton Mall. Otherwise, why take Jacob with you there? But nobody knows where she was going that night, which is another really suspicious thing with Evangeline. Like, you're telling me that you're going to babysit a child for a woman and you don't know where she's going, even though you bought her plane ticket to go to Edmonton with you, and you don't know where she was going that night. Now, do the RCMP know? Probably not, because they haven't interviewed her. So, I mean, Ivy, at the same time, why would they just kill her if they were? Well, if you listen, I don't think that you've heard it yet, but at the end of the recording, thank you, Mustang Cody Lidjbakoff, thank you, but no. But at the end of the recording, to me, it sounds like a struggle. And it just so happens that recording lasts, it's 19 minutes, and her remains were found a 19-minute drive from the hotel area. So it sounds like a struggle that ends that call. So you'll hear it when we play it. But I think, I don't know. And then Mustang Cody Lidjbakoff, that was another case that I covered. He was not. I mean, that's just another I guess, Albertan serial killer. Not connected to this. Wonder why the phone call ended. Again, when we replay that audio, you guys, listen to the end, because some people think that this was just the truck hitting a gravel road and it was jostling and maybe she dropped the phone and the call ended. But to me, I hear grunting as though maybe she was hit or she was striking somebody. Maybe she was hitting him, maybe trying to reach for the door to get out. And he, you know what I mean? It sounds to me like some kind of a struggle.
Well,
That's
she's
what-
something said, and then she says gravel. He says something. She says gravel, and then next thing you know, it's like beep 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 beep. You know. So I don't know if her phone flipped out of her hand at that point, or if he grabbed it, and don't know. To be honest with you.
Yeah, Remy's stuff. My thought too is that she got punched, because I swear to gosh, I hear a grunt, like a guttural, you know, like I hear it, and I've listened to that recording so many times with headphones on. I've listened to it on my surround sound, just trying to pick out nuances, and it sounds like the struggle to me. And was her phone never been found? Never. But I shouldn't say that, because we don't know, because the police haven't said. And I firmly believe that the family would have said that her clothing, her phone, anything would have been found with her, but they've had nothing but the skull. And remember, her luggage was thrown away by the RCMP. So that skull is the only thing that the family got back, except for the ID card that was found 2.5 hours away. Miranda, why was her... Oh, we just did that. Great question. Have I heard of Bobby Jack Fowler? Sounds familiar. You have to forgive me. My brain is like Jell-O. The best of days. If I don't have something in front of me, I have not. But if it's Canadian, I'm into it, because I'm trying. We're starting our 3rd season of the podcast here soon, and I'm going to try my best to stick to Canadian cases. My daughter is phenomenal at digging up lesser known cases all over the planet. And I've been doing kind of bigger cases in the United States. I would love to give some attention to, well, I've already done Amber, but I'm going to be doing like Russell Williams and some other big ones in Canada. But Bobby Joe.
Where's your link for that?
I don't
You
know.
have it?
What do you mean?
I should have, I totally forgot. It's because I keep thinking of YouTube. And because
Yes. Okay. Yes. I have not looked into it, but yes. And I do not have a link to my podcast. I am not comfortable sharing it. If people happen across it, I'm happy. I'm proud of it. I'm happy with it, but it is not.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm no Annie Elise. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my best here with what I got. But you'd think her friend would know where she was going or doing. Yes. Why split up like that? Yes. Her friend asked her to go away with her. Maybe it was an off-duty cop. Maybe. But maybe.
Her friend probably knew where she was going.
I mean,
They have an interview.
I wouldn't agree to babysit if I got on a plane with a woman who had a child and we're staying in a hotel because we're doing this trip together. I would not babysit her child unless I knew where she was going.
Yeah.
Why are you going somewhere without me?
Yeah.
We're here together to do this thing that we went there for.
I guess it really just depends on the lifestyle that they each leave. You know, like maybe to them, like her going off that night was, you know, like typically a thing that she would do. Like, hey, I'm going to hitch a ride into Edmonton type of thing. So I want to go there. And maybe the friend didn't want to, who knows? But I would think that the friend would know. But again, the friend hasn't been interviewed. So, which is ridiculous. Absolutely freaking ridiculous.
Especially now, because like in that CRCC report, all those findings, and they came out and they did their apology and everything. So it's still not solved. They still need to be investigating. So that would be stop one. And don't give me the pandemic excuse for not scheduling an interview. Like 2020 was 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago. So what is going on?
Yeah. Hey,
I'm going
by
to
the
look
way,
into it, Mustang.
okay. Shoot. Well, I mean, you've heard me tell my story too of the paper bag RAPIST on there. You've heard of that case, right?
You're talking to me?
Yeah,
What case?
the paper bag RAPIST.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Okay.
Where's that, in Calgary?
No, in BC, but he's up in Alberta, up there in prison. Anyway, that one was from when I was younger. Anyways,
So there was a guy. I wonder if I have it in here. So there was a guy, because remember earlier I said that I have this belief that there's a serial killer going between Calgary and Edmonton, and it's literally less than 2 full hours straight shot down the same highway to get to the Calgary city limits from Leduc County. So as we were recording our podcast, and this was back in April, there was a guy in Chestermere, which is right outside Calgary, who was arrested after he had a prostitute locked in his Quonset for 3 days, where he was assaulting and abusing her for 3 solid days. There was a huge search of his property. There was a search warrant. I can't remember what it's called. I'm trying to find it here, but there was like a list of things that they were looking for in his Quonset and on his property, which he was renting. He was renting the Quonset. So his Quonset and his truck were part of this search warrant. And inside the Quonset was a camper, like a trailer. I don't know what you guys call it there, but like a camper, a pull behind. So anyways, they found clothing that belonged to a prostitute that wasn't the one that escaped. They didn't find any, like they took cadaver dogs and everything there. They didn't find any evidence that we know of that anybody died in the Quonset or in his truck. But they were looking for, here it is, illicit drugs, firearms, knives, and human remains. Specifically mentioned in that document were a pig mask, bodily substances or DNA, pubic hair, a cell phone, a knife, clothing belonged to one of the other victims, and a sex toy. So, and the reason why I brought that up is because in Edmonton, all of the sex workers that have gone missing and turned up their remains found, in 2 different locations, remains were found with clothing belonging to a different sex worker that either wasn't dead or hadn't been found. So it was just eerie to me that this man down in Chestermere had a prostitute in his Quonset. He had her held captive for a number of days, violating her and abusing her, and there were clothing belonging to a different prostitute found during the search warrant execution. So I kind of thought, well, maybe. But police have collected over 1,000 pieces of evidence. We don't know if they found anything or everything that was listed in that search warrant, but he's sitting in the Calgary Remand Center facing 16 charges.
who's that one? Sorry.
His name is Richard Robert Mantha. He's 59 years old. And if we do the math, he would have been in his, like, around 24 when the connectable homicides in Calgary and Edmonton started. So early 20s. Then that's why, like I said, I was almost finished writing part 1 of my Alberta serial killer episode when this guy was arrested. So I had to add it almost as a footnote, the information. So I just thought that was exciting, because what if they can connect this guy who's now thankfully behind bars to any of these other cases.
Right.
And he did have a truck that was searched. I think we're all in agreement that the voice on this recording does sound like a man in his fit. Like, it's no 20-30-year-olds. Like, this is not a spry young man. This is definitely a mature adult.
Yeah.
So what if, hopefully they're looking into it.
Yeah. Okay. Just before, because we're gonna get going here, guys, in just a sec here. I'm gonna play the audio one more time, but just quickly, Charmaine, I always thought
Yes.
Fox Creek was 15 minutes out from Whitecourt, but it's more.
I know you keep saying that. It's literally 50 minutes. I worked
You know
in
why?
Whitecourt, and that commute killed me.
Yeah, because you know why? Because I keep thinking of Blue Ridge. I think a lot. I have Blue Ridge in my head.
And Mayor Thorpe too.
And Mayor Thorpe. So yeah. So that was just to show you that. So I used to live in Whitecourt. My ex-husband and my son Matthew, who's
Before we go, I don't care if you want to show them Whitecourt and Fox Creek. Like, I'm in Fox Creek. I'm way up in the no regions of no man's land. But if you want to zoom out so we can show them between Nisku, which is Leduc County, where all of these remains are found, and the Calgary city limits, where it relates to where Chestermere, which is just east of Calgary. It's all very connected, and one highway straight shot, less than 2 hours between the cities. I just really want to bring that point home, that we're not just looking for a guy that might live in Onaway or Beaumont or whatever.
Yeah.
This could be a guy using that highway.
So you want me to put in from where to Chestermere?
No, from Edmonton. Just put in Edmonton to Chestermere.
Yeah.
Just so we can show them what a straight shot it is to where all of these remains are found, and to where this new guy lives. So we see at the bottom where that marker is, you kind of go around. Yeah, you kind of go around the city to get to Chestermere on the east side, but the remains are found on the north side of the city and around the east and west, northeast and northwest sides of the city. And then you've got Highway 2, that's the QE2, straight shot right up into Edmonton. And 90% of these women are sex workers, and the ones that aren't sex workers are street people addicted to drugs, high-risk lifestyles. Some of the stories are pretty tragic. So, I mean, it's important, and I'm sure if they did bring the FBI in, and I have more faith in you guys' justice system and your law enforcement than I do in ours, unfortunately. But they did bring the FBI in, and they didn't make any connection. But I'm just saying, I don't know, man.
Yeah. And again,
exactly, MK. Exactly, MK.
Just ask you, are we going to be talking about this case next weekend as well?
No. And Miranda Lee, yes. And don't judge me. I know you won't, but I'm just saying. No, but for me, and I'd really like to know what chat thinks about it, but in Canada, with no different than this one is only interesting because it has the audio. There's something there that we can work off of. But most unsolved cases in Canada, we don't have a lot of information to share, right? We can read news articles and stuff, but the basic gist of it is all going to be what we find on the internet. But there are tons of true crime cases, and the reason why we came up with this idea is because a lot of people didn't realize that we had a lot of true crime, and there is some brutal, heartbreaking cases that I would love to share on your channel, but they're solved and they're resolved. So, I mean, I'll leave it up to you. There's the missing and murdered Indigenous population, obviously, the Highway of Tears. You could make an entire channel off of that case. You really, really, truly could. And I mean, obviously, I think we should cover that. But yeah.
Well, we can do our thing on the Highway of Tears.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's a one-time deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are so many, like minimum 82 victims. A minimum 82 victims.
When Delphi goes into a lull, and I have more time to look at it all.
I'm actually working on a Highway of Tears episode. It's going to be probably a 2 or 3-parter for the podcast for next season. And honestly, Sunny, the information is so vast. There's so much information out there about these women because of the community now that's outraged, you know. And they've started a movement, and they're finally getting some traction. But it's not, number one, it's not stopping these women from hitchhiking, unfortunately. And it's not stopping whoever's doing this, whether it's one person or multiple people. But this case, Amber's case, you cannot ever convince me that multiple people are using the same area as their dumping ground. I'm sorry. You can never make that make sense for me.
Miranda, I already reached out to Paul, and I've reached out to Tootsie.
She's talked to them both, actually.
Yeah. Paul said he was interested, said he wanted to. Never heard back from him. Tootsie, same thing. So I did an offering again the other day. Because, you know, like I kind of said to Tootsie, this isn't my case. This is your daughter. So it's just about bringing a voice to, you know, this case type of idea. Anyways, I'm just going to leave it by saying that. So,
let me just send my link, because it's only on my phone. So I'm going to send you the link to my podcast. And I would just like everybody to know I'm very nervous about sending and posting this link. So
judge her.
Be kind and turn it off if you don't like it. We can be kind of off color. We're doing our best. But I appreciate absolutely anybody that listens. And if you enjoy it, that's perfect. I have my reasons for starting the podcast that have absolutely nothing to do with my interest and passion for true crime. Just know that it's a very personal reason for me. And yeah, I think we improve all the time, and we'll get better. But sometimes it goes pretty rough. Not gonna lie.
All right. So I dropped the link for you there. You know what? I'll just give me a second. If someone's watching this video later, doesn't come across it, I'm going to go stick it into the live while we're here. Let me just quickly do that. Well, you know what? Let me play the audio while I'm doing that. I'm going to play this again here.
And please listen to the very end, you guys. And I would love to know, even in the comments after the show, if you think it's a struggle or if they just hit a dirt road and she dropped her phone.
Yeah.
I would love to know your thoughts.
Okey-dokey.
Where are we by?
We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont.
We're heading north of Beaumont. Yo, where are we going? No, this is a... Are you fucking kidding me? You better not take me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. Jeez. Yo, we're not going in the city, are we?
We're going
No, we're not.
yes,
Then what are these roads going to?
50th Street.
50th Street. Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yo, where are we going?
50th Street.
50th Street.
50th Street.
East, right?
Please.
Over town.
Travel.
South.
Please.
Over town.
Travel.
South. Over town.
Travel.
South. Over town.
Travel.
South. Over town.
Travel.
South. Right?
Please.
Over town.
Travel.
South.
He says something, and I can't make out what he's saying there. And then she says gravel. Like she said something like, what did she, hold on, let me put it one more time again.
I think she is asking him to pull over, but I don't like,
Yeah.
for me, it just sounds more like a struggle to me. Like maybe she socked him on or something and maybe reached for the door handle and he,
Well, okay, give me a second again. Let me just,
and if you do continue playing that they've got just the male's voice in there. And I think a few people in chat said that it was easier to
Over
hear.
town.
Travel.
are you talking about when they play it again?
We believe that rather than, and if you believe you
What did you say about that, Charmaine?
What, like after he's done babbling here, he plays it again,
Yeah,
but he
that's it.
takes out Amber's voice, and somebody in chat had mentioned it was a lot easier to make out his voice.
Yeah, but that was what she was saying.
The best way, Grizz, is to go on to YouTube and just search Amber Tuccuro recording.
Recording,
there's-
you'll find it. Yeah, I mean, I can drop the link for this video here, I suppose, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny listening to like American podcasters and content creators because they don't know how to say niskew and some other words, I guess.
Yeah.
And especially the Mishu Cree Nation. It's kind of funny, but
Kind of like when we can't pronounce some American things like Lafayette.
oh, Conte, I'm the worst. You
Like-
should hear my unedited podcast. It's terrible. Even
I'm
if I
not-
know how to say a word, I got a story for you. I covered the Pettit family, the Cheshire murders, and I've been covering it since it happened. And when I was reading for my podcast, I called them the Petite family. And I listened back and I was like, you idiot, you know it's the Pettit family. But my brain just doesn't work that way. I don't know.
Kind of like me when I said Adam and Libby and screwed up on that one. And then I'm like, even a couple times I'm like saying something. And even in this one, when I was, during the live, there was a part where I'm talking at the end of that, the guy that claims it's his dad. And I'm like, did I just say Ambro or something like that? And I go back and I'm like, oh, redo.
So my podcast is only on podcast platforms. We've started converting into YouTube videos. They're not videos though. They're literally like Murder Sheet does,
Audio.
just a picture of our logo with the audio. I'm considering getting more into doing them on YouTube. But yeah, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all of those platforms. And then Miss Dog Lover, I completely agree with you. It sounds like someone grabbing the phone. I completely agree. But at the very end of the phone where it's cut off and it's beep, beep, beep. I didn't even know that happened anymore. Like, how does a call have to end for that to happen? Because if somebody hangs up their cell phone now, it's just dead air. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me just hit this part.
Hello, this is Dr.
What the heck?
Grande. Today's
Grande?
question is, can I analyze the case?
I'm RCMP Constable Ray Shelton.
Hold on.
I'm an investigator with CARE, which is mandated with
or does something.
Oh,
We're just
charismatically, that'd be
down
awesome.
south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont. We're going, yes, to 50th Street. Absolutely. 50th Street.
Oh.
50th Street.
That's the voice.
We're just down south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont. We're going, yes, to 50th Street. Absolutely.
Absolutely. 50th Street. Definitely an old guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, we're going there. Absolute. You know what? It's so weird because even when I hear the voice, I'm like, that reminds me of somebody I know. To be honest,
And
with you.
that's another point actually, because I know that I said before that Canadians don't have an accent. Remember that whole thing about process with Travis?
No.
But this man on this recording, to me, does not sound like an American man. He sounds like a Canadian mature man. And I say that because, like, my dad, for instance, would say Beaumont that same way. Whereas, you know, just small little nuances that you can kind of tell if somebody's not Canadian. And that's another part too about Dustin. I don't think that, and I mean, I don't know personally, but don't meth users generally have issues with their mouth and their teeth, and they will sometimes, you can kind of talk, or you can kind of hear the way they talk that maybe they're missing some teeth or something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be great if you could separate the sound charismatically clever. That would be amazing. Yeah. Any kind of time and effort into this case to bring new information out, I think the family would appreciate. And I'm not trying to call out the RCMP here at all, but I think it's deplorable that it's not in the media more, and that you have to go to the RCMP news release section of their website to find that press release.
Yeah. No,
So,
but it's almost 3 hours, Missy.
That's crazy. I was expecting like an hour tops. I did my episode in like 40 minutes. What's wrong with you?
I'm the one that said to you, we'll try to keep it to an hour, right? An hour and a half. Yeah.
That's the difference, though. I'm able to go in and edit all the, the off-topic stuff. So.
In the upper, Miranda says, I love Canadian accents. In the upper Midwest, we get told that we have a mini Canadian accent. Well, my ass feels like 3 hours. My stomach feels like it's been 3 hours.
I always keep my little snacky snacks. When I go off camera, I'm usually eating.
Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, I shouldn't even say it, but yeah, typically I would have done that at some point, but I was just too lazy to put on my pants properly and go out there and face my brother-in-law. So I was like, yeah, I think I'll just hold off. I made it to the bathroom once, so I did do that. That was
future ex-husband. And I really, really appreciate everybody that came and listened to this Canadian true crime case. And like I said, if there's any Canadian cases that was interesting to you that you'd like to hear more about, whether solved or unsolved, let us know. There is plenty of cases to tell you about, and some I think most Americans would be kind of surprised that we nice, polite Canadians are capable of some of the brutality that people have been convicted for. Yeah. So.
This is, this is where I'm not going to get into that whole conversation, but this is where I kind of feel like it's nice that we're kind of like 35 million people here. And you guys can borrow some of our trees that aren't burnt down if you want. We got lots of those. We got lots of land. But this is where I'm glad we don't have, like, say, 350, 400, whatever America has over there, somewhere up there. Pretty much.
We have 4 people per square kilometer in Canada. And I think it's something You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's something like 28 people per square kilometer in the United States. And we have like the largest landmass. So figure that out. We've got vast areas of just trees
Tree.
and forest, and it's beautiful, but
Well, I was just gonna say, like I can't help it because I kind of want to just show that because most people obviously know what Canada is. So yeah, so Shar lives like you guys know. I live in Vancouver down here now, right? This is where I was born and raised. Was in Vancouver, but I've spent half of my life living up in Alberta, in Whitecourt, Calgary, and even that place that I call Saskatchewan. When I talk about Lloydminster, that's on the border of Saskatchewan right here, where I legitly like the parallel 88th parallel or whatever parallel that is goes right through. So it's part in Alberta, part in Saskatchewan province. But like, I mean, like, like I know this has got like you guys' farmlands and all that, but
like
like,
if you go to Lloydminster, you can look straight across Saskatchewan and see Manitoba.
yeah.
I'm exaggerating. I'm just saying there's not a hill, there's not a tree, there's nothing. It's just vast. There's nothing.
Like look at all that. Moose Lake. There you go. My ex-husband, he's from over here, Newfoundland.
Oh, that
On there.
explains a lot.
Right, you guys can see pretty much where all the trees are. Stuff like that. Yeah. It's like I said, I think it was Miranda that said earlier that, oh, I've never heard of the word Hamlet.
And that yellow line from Edmonton, let's see here. Can you just zoom in a little bit on Highway 16 there? That is the Highway of Tears. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
This is the
And
highway.
if you go all the way west, it goes right to the west coast. And that from Edmonton all the way to the coast is considered the Highway of Tears.
Yeah.
But it goes straight across the country to the east too. So there's no telling how many, like if it is a truck driver that's responsible for that, the numbers could be so much worse.
Hey, see this one right here, North Battleford? Yeah.
Yeah.
Highest crime rate in Canada.
Yeah.
North Battleford there. Because we I think it was about a 40-minute drive as well. Anyways, it was I remember only because of this something popped up on my feed and it was about the worst cities and that in Canada. And North Battleford. Yeah. And that's about it really. That's about it. I'm ready to end the live. It's almost 3 hours now. And thank you guys for joining us today. It was a pleasure. I mean, I know there was
Penny for the platform. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the platform.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Lindsay Buziak, the millionaires. I will look into them. Absolutely.
Are we doing another one next weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't know what case we're talking about, right?
No. I mean, if it's going to be an unsolved one, I think it would have to be start the Highway of Tears, the missing and murdered Indigenous women, unless they want to hear about some other tragic cases that I think will blow everybody's minds. And there's the one, the Douglas Garland, that drone, I don't know if you heard about it, but just happenstance, a drone was taking pictures of farm fields and stuff for surveying and happened to snap a picture at the perfect time to see 3 headless bodies, basically, or 2 headless bodies and a child that were about to be burned in a burn barrel, and their remains were never found. But because of this drone, the man received the heaviest sentence in Canadian history. So, and that was just recently.
Well, like I was saying, like because the Tears one, like I just don't have a lot of time to invest into all that looky-loo for Child of Tears if it's that big of a, like I know, like if it's that big of a thing at the moment.
Well,
So,
maybe that one is a better idea because, like I said, I am working on an episode for season 3. So once I get done my research, maybe that's a better idea to kind of wait with that one. But
just a
they've
little
given
bit.
some ideas too. So
Yeah. And hold on, I want to see something else quickly. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, you know, let's see here. Analytics. Okay, you guys, I'm really tired of this shit. Okay, we're at 9,972. Is it so hard to get 28 more subscribers? Is it that hard? If you are not subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing so that we can get over our 10K. This is a personal thing now. It's like a stepping stone, you know? But I'm pretty much sick and tired of sitting underneath that 10K for like months. Pretty much up 5 subscribers, down 3 subscribers, up. You know, it's like a yo-yo right now. Anyways, 28 more subscribers. I want to play my 10K video. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, I'm not even asking, just do it. Just do it.
and share this episode and get Amber's case out there, and maybe some people will
Absolutely.
come and want to subscribe.
Honestly, that's absolutely true. So with that being said, I know I'm going to play the outro. I know it's going to say me and Aspen. I haven't had time to do a whole new intro for the Canadian live and stuff like that yet. When I have time, I'll do that. So right now, we just pretend that Charmaine is Aspen as we leave you with this extra. Okay, thanks, Charmaine. Thanks, you guys. Miss Dog Lover, love you. And thank you guys all for joining in the chat. And yeah, we'll see you next weekend, eh?
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Grizzly.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. If you can do that, that would be awesome as well. Thank you. This is Sunny Justice and Aspen Connor from It's a Crime and Shame, wishing you all a good night.